Chapter 1448. Rumble. The sky was blotted out, and the air was suffused with an evil aura. Countless ferocious devils, emitting a strong, bloodthirsty aura, rushed into the holy battle platform like a swarm of locusts, slaughtered and preyed on people from all large sects and forces. No one thought that the situation would change so violently. Not even the slightest precaution. Not even the slightest sign. It could even be said that the holy war hadn't ended yet. The devil army, which came out of nowhere, invaded the chaos devil world on a large scale like a black tide. A dark mass of devils ceaselessly surged out from the cracks in the nebulous storm. When everyone was in danger, the Great Emperor Palace, the Five Elements Clan, the Wind Frost City, the New Moon Holy Clan, and the other top-grade geniuses couldn't help but stand up. After all, the most outstanding young warriors of the Midland were gathered here. Once they were slaughtered by the devil army today, the overall power of the Midland would suffer a great loss. Follow me. Chu Hen's entire body sparkled with incomparably violent thunderbolts, and purple flames seemed to be dancing in his eyes. As he finished speaking, he leapt up and attacked explosively. His speed rapidly increased, and the purple lightning that gathered around his body quickly became sharp. In an instant, Chu Hen was like a lightning shadow that pierced through the chaotic world. He charged towards the demon army that covered the sky and covered the earth with the force of tearing apart the heavens. Puff! Hiss! The shadow wings were like blades cutting the sky. Any ominous demon that came into contact with Chu Hen's thunderblade was instantly split into two halves. Wherever the thunderblade went, dark green demon blood would splatter all over the sky, and broken limbs would explode everywhere. Within a blink of an eye, Chu Hen had reached the area under the crack in the tunnel where the devil army had rushed in. A large number of cruel hybrid demons charged towards Chu Hen one after another, bursting with a powerful evil aura. Ha! Greedy, cold, bloodthirsty, evil power spread out from all directions. Pairs of claws that were as sharp as a guillotine had an imposing manner as if they wanted to tear Chu Hen apart. Go and help. Tang Bufan, who had killed Emperor Mo, hurriedly shouted. The eyes of Lininghe, Lai Xingyuan, Wei Yin, Mu Feng, Yi Zhou, and Ji Tao turned cold. They immediately followed behind Tang Bufan and flew towards the sky above Chu Hen. Clang! At this moment, a torrential purple thunderstorm erupted in the void. Purple lightning, seven-star demonic flame storm. Chu Hen's cold eyes narrowed, and an invisible spatial rhythm swept across the sky. Bang! With a violent sound that shook the heavens, a sky-burning flame that stirred the heavens swept across the ferocious demon army once again. The purple flames that burst out in an instant were like a nebula vortex that had completely exploded. What was different from before was that this time, the firestorm was mixed with extremely domineering lightning pillars. It was like the fusion of thunder and fire. The nine heavens fission. Wherever the terrifying, destructive storm passed, all the ferocious demons were directly smashed into pieces. Woo! Wow! A series of shrill screams that sounded like ghosts wailing and wolves howling could be heard. In an instant, hundreds and thousands of ferocious hybrid demons were killed by Chu Hen in the void. F***CK. Looking at the brutal Chu Hen, even the eight-armed emperor, official Wei Yin couldn't help but curse. That guy alone is enough. Yi Zhou chimed in. Now is not the time to joke. Tang Bufan frowned and continued. Let's attack the entrance together and not let them come out. Yes. Everyone nodded solemnly. After saying that, the few of them exploded with their most powerful and majestic aura. Along with the monstrous, surging, true origin energy, beams of brilliant light that were like divine rainbows whistled across the sky and surged towards the entrance of the nebula vortex. Heavenly Flow Slash. Five Elements Palm. Shadow Wings Divine Blade. Emperor Flow Silence Slash. Buzz. Beams of fierce attacks that crossed the sky, swept across the sky, and converged into a dazzling rainbow that illuminated the heavens. Boom! Bang! The fierce energy that gathered together directly hit the entrance of the tunnel that the group of ferocious demons came out from. In an instant, a violent, destructive force that could shake the heavens immediately exploded. It was like a meteor had exploded and the sky shook. A powerful shockwave that could crush everything in all directions instantly blasted the thousands of ferocious demons near the entrance into pieces. It was like a giant sword that went straight for the throat. Blocking the tunnel, the endless stream of ferocious demons was immediately cut off. The people from the various sects and forces slightly heaved a sigh of relief. Retreat. Don't be obsessed with fighting. Let's go. The leaders of the various sects immediately took this opportunity to retreat from the chaotic high firmament's sacred battle platform. Wang Li, Wu Yin, the two of you and junior sister Yi, Yao cover the others and leave first. Junior sister Xin Shuang and I will stay and assist junior brother Chu Hen. Qiu Xingyi immediately gave instructions. Okay, you guys be careful. Boom. However, before everyone could retreat at top speed, another ear-piercing, sky-shaking explosion sounded out in the sky above the 9 heavens once again. The expressions of the people from the various sects and forces instantly changed. Their gazes swept to the sky in unison. Bang! They saw an incomparably dense, blood-colored, murderous aura explode in the vortex tunnel. What's going on? Moreover, in the blood-colored, murderous aura, a wantonly surging demonic aura attacked. The corner of Chu Hen's eyes narrowed. Then he raised his eyes and shouted to Tang Bufan and the others who were not far away. Everyone dodge. What? Tang Bufan, Izhou, and the others were shocked. Boom! The moment his voice fell, the terrifying airflow that pierced through the heavenly river crushed down, and a huge blood-colored energy shockwave suddenly shot out from the nebula vortex. Buzz, the space violently twisted and shook. An unshakable and terrifying aura rapidly shrouded the sky above their heads. Dodge! Tang Bufan roared. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Izhou, Mufeng, Tang Bufan, and Situ Hanya scattered like meteors and flashed away like auroras. However, the 8-armed Emperor Wei Yin and Ji Tao were unable to dodge in time. Bang! Like a falling meteor, the blood-colored energy shockwave directly smashed into the two of them. Instantly, their bodies trembled violently, and a huge mouthful of blood spurted out. The terrifying destructive power was like the explosion of a heavenly star, and a blood-colored halo swept out in the sky. The incomparably powerful shockwave immediately traced back to Tang Bufan, Izhou, and the others. Their faces sank, and their internal organs were all shaken. Apart from Chu Hen and Mu Feng, the others all had faint blood flowing out from the corners of their mouths. Huh! A sharp and ear-piercing demonic roar pierced everyone's eardrums. Surrounded by the surging evil, murderous aura, a pair of malevolent crocodile-like vertical pupils emitted a cold and ferocious light. Wah! Countless demonic beasts roared towards the sky, and their sharp and creepy laughter rang out. The oppressive and terrifying murderous aura filled the sky and the earth, making everyone breathless. This is Tang Bufan, Lai Shunyuan, and the others all wore solemn expressions. What a powerful, murderous aura. Could it be the king of the hybrid demons? Whoosh! The wantonly spreading, evil, murderous aura caused countless people's hearts to tremble. Then, under everyone's terrified gazes, an evil demonic creature that was more than 300 feet tall and covered in thick scales rushed out of the nebula vortex. It had a huge body and a pair of menacing and cold vertical pupils. Its body looked like an ancient giant lizard that stood upright, but there was a human head on its neck. However, this head was covered in scales, and it was unusually hideous and disgusting. Demon King Crocodile. In an instant, everyone's pupils shrank. Their faces were filled with intense fear. It was indeed the king of the demon clan. Damn it, Tang Bufan cursed in a deep voice. Meanwhile, Wei Yin and Ji Tao, who were severely injured, held their chests and their pale faces were devoid of any color. It's over. The wind and clouds split, and the sky darkened. Hee, let's bathe the chaos demon world in blood. The demon king crocodile revealed a creepy smile, and its mouth was filled with saw-like sharp teeth. Then, the doomsday-like scene appeared once again. The mighty army of the demon clan once again surged out of the space tunnel. Black figures shrouded the sky. The wind suddenly blew, and a destructive aura crushed the entire place. Looking at the ferocious giant demon, Chu Hen's face was filled with deep solemnity. If it was only the demon king crocodile, he still had a fighting chance, but the endless army of ferocious demons could not stop them at all. It would not take long for the chaos demon world to turn into a hellish battlefield. Hee hee. The group of demons roared, setting off a monstrous bloody aura. At this moment, countless people seemed to be on the verge of death, and a catastrophe was about to befall them. Boom! Suddenly, the dark sky that was shrouded in blood mist suddenly sprinkled a dazzling, extravagant starlight. Then, a sacred and mighty aura poured down. Star God crack! A voice that exuded a proud aura suddenly came down from the sky. Buzz! Countless rays of dazzling starlight pierced through the sky, like peerless divine rays that broke through the heavenly river and rushed towards the group of ferocious demons. Miserable screams rang out. In an instant, the endless starlight directly pierced through the bodies of countless ferocious demons. One by one, the ferocious demons were crushed into pieces. Everyone who witnessed this scene widened their eyes. Such powerful starlight energy. Could it be? Tang Bufon clenched his fists, and his face was filled with unprecedented fear. Clang! In the sky above, the void twisted. Along with the cracked space tunnel, 7 to 8 figures with extraordinary auras quietly appeared in the sky above the sacred battle platform. Each of the figures exuded an incomparably thick and powerful aura. One of them was overflowing with gorgeous and luxurious silver starlight. His cold and domineering eyes were like the endless night sky. The hybrid demon clan. How dare you invade the land of the human race? You're simply courting death. His monstrous aura crushed the entire place. His body emitted a divine starlight. It's them. Tang Bufon's pupils constricted. Lai Xingyuan, Izhou, Siduhanya, Jitao, and the other geniuses on the ranking list couldn't help but squint their eyes. Chu Hen's gaze was solemn as he stared at the few people who stood proudly in the sky. The aura that these people emitted was extremely powerful. Even many monstrous geniuses on the ranking list couldn't compare to them. Tang Bufon's throat moved slightly as he said in a deep voice, emphasizing every word. The limit of the 10 most powerful sacred physiques. Rumble. Tens of thousands of lightning bolts flashed, and the wind swept through the 9 provinces. When everyone heard the words, 10 most powerful sacred physiques, they all revealed great fear and respect. At this moment, Chu Hen's eyes couldn't help but tremble. Among those few people, there was actually a familiar figure that came into view. She was tall and slender, and she had an unconcealable aura. She wore a white robe, and she had a unique elegance that was different from others. She wore a mask on her face. It was a very simple mask. She drew a few patterns casually. It was simple and elegant. The mask covered her face, but it couldn't hide her peerless elegance. It's her. Chu Hen's heart skipped a beat, and a pair of eyes that were as clear as water and a beautiful face that could topple cities appeared in his mind. My surname is Bai. My name is Bai Qinyu. Today is the first day. Today is the first night watch. I came back too late to help my friend look after the shop. I'm so tired that I don't want to move. I'll make up for it tomorrow at the 3rd night watch. Chapter 1449. The limit of the 10 most powerful saint physiques, Tang Bufon said each word slowly. His eyes were filled with unconcealable shock. Looking at the extraordinary figures standing proudly in the sky, Lai Xingyuan, Lin Yinghe, Wei Yin, Ji Tao, and the other geniuses were all moved. Even they are here. Everyone knew that the tens of thousands of monstrous geniuses in the Midland aimed for the ranking list. Those who had the strength to make it onto the list were all talented elites. However, in this world, there was still a group of people who weren't on the list. It wasn't that they didn't have the strength to compete for the ranking list. Instead, it was because they were born with a powerful bloodline that was blessed by the heavens. These people were known as the possessors of the 10 most powerful saint physiques. The forces behind them were also known as the 10 most powerful sacred clans. Of course, this didn't mean that the ranking list wasn't valuable. On the contrary, the sects, forces, and sacred clans in the Midland were like trees in a forest. Tens of thousands of monstrous geniuses shone like stars in the sky. There were only 50 positions on the ranking list. The 50 people on it were the ones who were closest to the 10 most powerful sacred clans. This was also the reason why the people of the world were so obsessed with the competition on the Windcloud list. Oomph! The Yimo clan wants to make a comeback in the Chaos Devil domain. What wishful thinking! In the sky, the man who was covered in dazzling starlight coldly stared at the group of ferocious Yimo that blotted out the sky. His eyes were filled with mockery. As he spoke, a storm gathered in his palm. Tens of thousands of dazzling silver starlight surged in his palm. It was as if he was in control of endless starlight. Buzz. Then he raised his hand and threw a palm. Along with a vast and majestic power that blotted out the sky, a giant palm print that was hundreds of feet in size descended from the sky and directly covered the army of ferocious Yimo. The giant palm print was crystal clear, as if it was intertwined with countless flowing stars. Boom! A series of loud explosions sounded. In an instant, over 1,000 ferocious Yimo were crushed into powder by the palm. Sacred Star Body. The crowd below couldn't help but exclaim. The Sacred Star Body, one of the 10 most powerful sacred bodies, could connect to the power of the stars in the 9 heavens and even borrow the divine might of the stars. A group of mischievous brats has arrived. Kill them. The demon crocodile king grinned, revealing its serrated fangs. It waved its claws and issued a command to attack. Woo! Wow! Then, like a school of bloodthirsty sharks that had broken through the heavenly river, the vast army of ferocious devils surged towards everyone like a black tsunami. Hey, we're not ordinary brats. Demon King, the other young man in black, had a playful smile on his face. Immediately after, his body moved and he charged towards a Yimo horde that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. While it was moving, 2 balls of blazing flames suddenly shot out of its eyes. In the next moment, a monstrous wave of heat swept through the sky. The man in black was immediately engulfed in flames, and he suddenly turned into a flame giant that was more than 500 meters tall. Apocalyptic, godly punishment flames. The flame giant that the man in black had turned into was like a god of fire. He clasped his hands together and pushed outwards. Bang! There was a loud explosion, and a terrifying fireball that was like the explosion of the sun instantly swept in all directions. The most shocking thing was that the flames that were constantly being released were constantly changing in color. It was ever-changing, like a divine ray. The heat waves that scorched the earth rose to the sky. It was spectacular and shocking. Any Yimo that came into contact with the blazing divine ray flames were like they were being burned by the flames of hell. They screamed and turned into ashes. The eyes of the crowd below were trembling as they reflected the beautiful flames. Everyone's face was filled with awe. Apocalyptic, godly punishment flames. One of the 10 most powerful sacred bodies, burning heaven's sacred body. Your evil aura is too strong. Buzz! At the same time, a strange dark gray halo swept out from the sky. In an instant, with the other figure as the center, the void within a radius of several hundred kilometers was plunged into a murky yellow world. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth completely dissipated. Dust filled the sky and vitality withered. Along with the rapidly disappearing breath of life, the countless ferocious Yimo were also robbed of their vitality. Under everyone's shocked gazes, All the ferocious Yemo in the murky yellow sky started to wither like flowers and plants. In an instant, they turned into dried corpses. Such a domineering power. Is this the power of desolates? It can't be wrong. It's the sacred body of great desolation. Shock, surprise, and an unconcealable palpitation. Sacred body of stars, burning heaven's sacred body of great desolation. 3 of the 10 most powerful sacred bodies actually appeared on the same day. Even at this moment, the crowd could not calm their restless hearts. Is this the power of the sacred body of the 10 most powerful sacred bodies? It is indeed terrifyingly powerful. Tang Bufan muttered to himself. Lai Xingyuan, Wei Yin, Mu Feng, Qiu Xingyi, and the rest were also moved. It was indeed an existence that was above the excellence list. This unique bloodline power was simply too terrifying. However, just as everyone was shocked by the world-shocking power in the sky, only Chu Hen's attention continued to land on a single person. My surname is Bai. My name is Bai Qin. So today is the first day. Looking at the slender and familiar figure from afar, Chu Hen felt an indescribable trance. The encounter in the immortal devil tomb. It was just a short 2 encounters, but there was an indescribable feeling. Who was she? What was her identity? Chu Hen could not help but feel a trace of doubt. Even when standing next to the experts with the sacred body of stars and burning heaven's sacred body, she was still elegant and proud. Chu Hen shook his head and came back to his senses. However, he couldn't get rid of that pair of charming and delicate peach blossom eyes from his mind. Looking at the ferocious demon army that was being massacred, the scales on the demon king crocodile's body stood up. Its vertical pupils emitted a fierce and evil aura. Buzz, its sharp claws condensed, and a surging spiral airwave converged into a ball-shaped, blood-colored energy body. You arrogant little brats, die for this demon king. Along with the trembling space, the vigorous blood-colored energy body was like a meteorite that traversed the sky, dragging an impact that could destroy everything as it blasted towards the few people. The demon king seems to be angry. The black-clothed man with the burning heaven's sacred body, who had transformed into a flame giant, let out a frivolous laugh. He leaped up, and his huge flame body directly blocked the blood-colored energy body. Then his huge arms stretched forward, and he actually used his palms to take on the demon king crocodile's attack that was emitting violent power. Bang! The moment the two collided, the stars in the sky exploded, and surging heat waves swept across the sky. The blazing fire pillar and the tsunami-like blood-colored light pillar soared into the sky. The two chaotic and violent shock waves had a terrifying power that could pierce through the void. Ferocious and intense wind continued to charge at the enormous body of the flame giant. The raging flames that covered its body also fled backwards. He blocked it. The geniuses of the various sects and forces all widened their eyes. Whoosh! At the same time, the sky was dyed with starlight. The man with the sacred star physique stood proudly at the top of the demons. He clasped his hands together, and a dazzling starlight sword extended from his palms and arms. Star's soul slashed. Buzz, the space in all directions shook uneasily. In an instant, a huge starlight sword that spanned thousands of feet slashed down with a divine might that could split the heavens. The swift and fierce, killing intent pierced through the sky, and wherever the sword's giant pillar passed, all the demons in front of it were cut into pieces. Then, under countless shocked gazes, the sky's splitting starlight sword reached the back of the demon army and finally landed on the huge demon king crocodile. The latter's sharp vertical pupils reflected thick cruelty and ruthlessness. Bang! The loud sound shook the sky, and the cold wind roared. Countless broken black scales mixed with green demon blood splattered in the sky. The demon king crocodile's bronze-like body split open, and half of its shoulder was chopped off. Wah! The demon king crocodile let out a mournful and angry roar. Then, the demons of all sizes also let out shrill screams. It was as if a retreat horn had sounded. The demon king crocodile was the first to drag its green demon body back into the hole in the center of the nebula whirlpool. Heh, woo. As soon as the demon king crocodile left, the other evil demons immediately retreated. Black shadows leaped into the void and entered the nebula whirlpool. The dark group retreated like the tide of the clouds. Seeing this scene, the disciples of the various sects and forces could not help but let out a sigh of relief. Wah! The peerless flame giant quickly gathered together and returned to its original form. Are we going to let them escape just like that? Of course not. The young man with the sacred body of stars stared at the chaotic passageway with a cautious expression. Since they can break through the entrance here, they will definitely get involved again. I'm afraid we'll have to enter the edge of the God-forbidden blood prison and seal all the passageways. The God-forbidden blood prison. It's a little dangerous. If we don't do it properly, we might all die. We have no other choice. If the demon race invades, the consequences will be unimaginable. As soon as he finished speaking, the young man with the sacred body of stars glanced at the sky-reaching platform, which was already in a terrible state. I am Meng Xiaolin of the Sacred Star Clan. You can stop here. Leave the rest to us. Everyone was shocked and could not help but understand. Since even the 10 sacred clans had appeared, there was no need for them to interfere with the rest. Yes, Tang Bufan stepped forward and agreed. Wait, is the sacred war over? At this moment, the man in black from the sky-burning clan asked curiously, why didn't I see anyone from the God of War Palace? If I remember correctly, Meng Yuan too should be ranked first on the wind cloud list, right? As the few of them spoke, they subconsciously looked at the giant stone tablet on the first sacred war platform that was already dyed red with blood. Then, their gazes fell on the first name at the same time. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 1450. Wait, is the sacred war over? Why don't I see anyone from God of War Palace? If I remember correctly, Meng Yuan too should be ranked first on the honor list, right? The man with the sacred body of heaven said casually, hasn't the honor list battle started yet? If that's the case, I guess you'll have to wait for next time. As they spoke, they subconsciously turned their gazes towards the first holy battle arena, which was on the verge of collapsing. When their gazes fell on the ancient stone tablet, they were immediately stunned. This is... Meng Xiaolin from Divine Star Tribe was stunned. He exchanged glances with the people around him and saw the astonishment in each other's eyes. The position on the stone tablet that originally belonged to Meng Yuan Tu had been replaced by 2 unfamiliar words. What's going on? This is the stone tablet that represents the honor list, right? Meng Yuan Tu was kicked. The few of them were even more confused. At the same time, the slender figure wearing a mask, who was not far away from Meng Xiaolin and the others, looked at the ancient stone tablet casually. Chuhen. The 2 clear and eye-catching words were like the bright moon held up by many stars, ranked first on the honor list. Looking at the name, the pair of beautiful eyes behind the mask couldn't help but have faint wrinkles. How could it be? A soft voice came from behind the mask. Doubt, surprise, and a lot of disbelief. The curiosity of Meng Xiaolin and the others was immediately aroused. He looked down at Tang Bufan, who had killed Emperor Mo, and asked, "Are you from Emperor Grandeur Palace?" "Yes," Tang Bufan replied respectfully. "Is the honor list battle over?" Tang Bufan hesitated for a while and then nodded. "It's almost over. We just need to rearrange the rankings on the list." "What about the people from God of War Palace?" This, Tang Bufan didn't know how to answer. Then, he turned to look at the stone pillar that had the picture of a giant dragon carved on it. At the same time, everyone in the room also looked in that direction at the same time. At the top of the stone pillar, a black blade that emitted a gloomy aura pinned a battered figure there. The other party was covered in blood, and there was no sign of life at all. However, it was unknown when all of its vitality had disappeared in the world's forgetfulness. Don't tell me this person is Meng Yuan Tu? The black-robed man from the sky-burning clan smiled indifferently. However, the entire place was silent. Everyone's expression was indescribably complicated. The smile on the black-clothed man's face immediately turned cold. On the other hand, Meng Xiaolin from Star Clan and the few expert from Great Wilderness Clan were dumbfounded. Without a doubt, this person was the ruler of the Wind Cloud list, see Yuan 2. He died just like that? Hiss. In an instant, Meng Xiaolin and the others could not help but narrow their eyes. Glancing back at the battered and exhausted sacred battle platform that was dyed red with blood, Qin Wentian couldn't help but sigh. Corpses littered the ground, and blood flowed like a river. If it was just the invasion of the ferocious demon army, it would be impossible to cause such a tragic massacre in such a short period of time. Then, there was only one possibility. Before they arrived, the Palace of Gods of War had already been completely annihilated. Even the 5 gods of war who dominated the Wind Cloud list had all died in the Sacred War. This can't be real, right? The black-clothed man from Sky Burning Clan laughed awkwardly. The entire Palace of Gods of War had been massacred? Was this a joke? Their gazes gathered on Meng Yuantu again. After confirming that he had died, they were extremely surprised. Even though they were from the 10 sacred clans, they could not hide their astonishment. Before this, Meng Yuantu was once thought of as a super genius who was closest to becoming one of the 10 strongest sacred races. From a certain perspective, his barbarian sacred body was infinitely close to the limits of the 10 sacred bodies. Such an influential figure, who was known as the undefeatable legend of the Midland, had died in such a miserable way at this moment, without even the slightest bit of dignity. Unbelievable! I even heard that he had already been selected to enter that place. If that's the case, the bunch of old fellows from the Palace of Gods of War will definitely be furious. How ironic. While feeling extremely unbelievable, the few of them could not help but be curious about the name that had replaced Meng Yuantu. Did this person do it? 2 completely unfamiliar words. Meng Xiaolin and the others subconsciously looked at the crowd below, searching for the owner of that name. At this moment, a pair of eyes that came from behind the mask quietly fixed on a young figure in the crowd. It really is him. Bai Qinyu's heartstrings trembled faintly. Some of the memories that had been buried deep in her back were slowly dissolving. At the same time, Chu Hen also noticed the other party's gaze. The moment their gazes met, an invisible rhythm was embedded in their hearts. However, Bai Qinyu quickly retracted her gaze. She said to Meng Xiaolin and the others in a deep voice, "We still have to chase after the Demon King Crocodile. Don't waste time here." Only then did the few of them realize that there was something more important to do. They raised their heads to look at the nebula vortex that had opened up in the void. The demon army had already completely retreated, and the planar passage within the storm was rapidly shrinking. Meng Xiaolin immediately raised his hand and shouted loudly, "Since the Holy War's enlistment has ended, all of you should prepare to return. Let's go." After saying that, the few of them emitted a peerless aura. One by one, they turned into aurora-like afterimages and flew towards the chaotic nebulous storm. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Without any hesitation, they directly followed the demon army and rushed into the dark abyss-like planar passage. At the same time, the people from the major sects and forces all let out a heartfelt sigh of relief. Everything that had happened today was so unreal that it felt surreal. Looking at the inside and outside of the Holy War stage, which had been dyed red by blood, everyone found it hard to calm down. The Holy War's enlistment has finally ended. Tang Bufan, Wei Yin, Lai Xingyuan, Lin Yinghe, Yi Zhou, Ji Tao, and many other geniuses on the list glanced at each other. Who would have thought that this time's Holy War's enlistment would set off such a terrifying wave? After today, the Midland would definitely erupt into an unprecedented uproar. This would definitely be the most tragic Holy War's enlistment in history. Whoosh! Suddenly, just as the gate opened by the demon army was closed to a gap of less than half a meter, a slight sword cry was heard. The formless Emperor Blade, which had penetrated Meng Yuantu's chest, suddenly turned into an aurora and flew into the sky. Everyone present was startled. Meng Yuantu, who had lost his support, fell from the sky and landed powerlessly on the ground. In the next second, When everyone looked for the black divine sword again, they found that the formless emperor blade had disappeared along with Chu Hen. Where's junior brother Chu Hen? Wang Li, Qiu Xingyi, and the others looked puzzled. Meanwhile, Long Xuan, Huang Fuqing, Mu Feng, and the others looked puzzled as they stared at the rapidly closing space passage. Buzz, a shadow, flashed into the passageway just before it closed. Then, the demon army's invasion gate was completely closed, and the nebulous storm that had gathered in the sky gradually calmed down. Where'd he go? Mu Feng asked in confusion. Is there someone he knows in there? Long Xuan and Yi Yao shook their heads. I don't know either. Calm. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 1451. Woo, hee hee. The chilly wind roared and the wind raged. The dark sky seemed to be in a gloomy world where the sun could never be seen. A crimson crescent moon was faintly discernible in the clouds. Between the withered trees, a crow was perched, letting out a creepy caw. In the distance, there was a dark mountain range that extended to an unknown place. The withered old trees didn't have the slightest hint of green. At every other corner, there were all kinds of bones piled up on the ground. There were bones of humans, demon beasts, and there were also bones of unknown monsters. Some poisonous snakes and lizards that lived in the dark curled up among the bones. They would occasionally crawl out of their empty eye sockets, flicking their tongues and wagging their tails. It was a dark world that was like an abyss. It was as though one could walk into the endless hell through this world. Woo! The creepy screams of the hybrid demons could be heard from afar. Along the way, there were countless corpses and broken limbs of the ferocious demons. The experts from the 10 strongest sacred clans passed through the chaos demon world and chased after the hybrid demon army. Star God crack, boom, woo. Countless dazzling starlight holy light crushed a series of ferocious demons into pieces. The raging flames burned like the flames of hell that burned evil spirits. Many evil spirits that were engulfed by the flames fled in all directions, screaming miserably as they fled in all directions. Brother Di Qiong, have you found the location of the Demon King Crocodile? Meng Xiaolin from the Star Clan asked the man in black from the Sky Burning Clan. The man who was called Di Qiong frowned slightly. His eyes were burning with crimson flames. No, I wonder where that bastard is hiding. Then he turned to look at the young figure who possessed the bloodline limit of the sacred body of great desolation. Brother Lu Mian used the power of desolation earlier. You should be able to sense the desolate origin aura on the Demon King Crocodile, right? However, Lu Mian shook his head. I could sense the desolate origin aura on the Demon King Crocodile. But just now, the desolate origin aura disappeared. Disappeared? That bastard wouldn't have fled back to the God-forbidden blood prison, right? It shouldn't be that fast, right? This intersection road is about a few thousand kilometers long, not to mention that it was injured by Brother Meng's star soul slash, so it should be hiding somewhere. Lu Mian turned around and said, but we don't have much time left. We still have to repair the spatial rift that connects to the Chaos Devil domain. I'm afraid we can only let these dogs go. These bastards dared to invade the human territory while we were unprepared. If we don't teach them a lesson, we won't be able to take it lying down. Di Qiong clenched his fist and said irritably. Meng Xiaolin hesitated for a moment, then said, how about this? Miss Bai and I will go and fix the space crack. Brother Di Qiong and Brother Lu Mian will continue to chase after the Demon King Crocodile. Sure. Di Qiong agreed immediately. Lu Mian also nodded. What do you think, Miss Bai? Seeing that the masked tall figure didn't answer, Meng Xiaolin asked again. Oh, Bai Qinyu responded. All right, Miss Bai and I are enough to repair the spatial rift. Don't go too far in case there are reinforcements from the Devil Army at the God-forbidden blood prison. We know what we're doing. All right, after that, everyone immediately split up. Lu Mian from the Great Desolation Clan, Di Qiong from the Sky Burning Clan, and a few others formed a small team and continued to chase after the retreating hybrid demons. The feud between humans and the Devil Clan had never stopped. The hatred that humans had for the hybrid demons was growing day by day. The demon king crocodile was a king of the devil clan. Now that it was injured, it was definitely a good opportunity to kill it. Otherwise, it would be a huge trouble in the future if they let it go. Let's hurry and find the passageway, Meng Xiaolin said. Bai Qinyu nodded. All right, what's wrong? It seems like you've been a little absent-minded since the beginning. What happened? Meng Xiaolin asked curiously. Nothing. Bai Qinyu replied indifferently and did not say anything else. Like a nimble goose, he flew off in another direction. Meng Xiaolin shrugged. Without asking any further, he also flew away. At this moment, Chu Hen had also entered the intersection of the chaotic devil domain and the god-forbidden blood prison at an opportune time. Regardless of the situation, it was not very rational for Chu Hen to barge into this place alone. However, Chu Hen still came in the end. In fact, even Chu Hen could not find a clear reason. He did not even know what this place represented. He was just a little worried, especially when he heard Meng Xiaolin and the rest mention the words God-forbidden blood prison. Chu Hen could not help but come to this place at the last moment before the passageway outside was closed. However, once he entered, Chu Hen was a little surprised when he saw the dark world that seemed to be without daylight. He had never seen a place with such dense qi. Everywhere was filled with gloom and death. Even the silent ridge, where corpses gathered, was far less dense than the qi here. The feeling this place gave people was like the only way to hell. Where are they? Chu Hen looked around, but he did not know which direction to go. Under the dense, evil qi, it was even difficult to extend his perception. He was a little impulsive. Chu Hen shook his head slightly, then followed his feeling and randomly chose a direction to go. The dark, withered trees were like the claws of a malicious spirit, and the skinny and strange crows perched on the treetops and let out hair-raising cries. Chu Hen wandered aimlessly in this dark and gloomy world, and he soon began to lose his bearings. Obviously, he was not going in the same direction as Bai Qinyu and the rest. Woo! Suddenly, just as Chu Hen was about to turn around and return, a low and strange howl suddenly came faintly from the dark mountain stream. Chu Hen's heart skipped a beat. Then, he climbed to the top of the mountain stream. Two spectacular mountain peaks crossed each other, which was strange and peculiar. And, looking closely, there was a huge cave entrance in the middle of the mountain peaks. The cave extended all the way to the depths, and he could not see the bottom, but he could faintly see a faint blood mist rising. Looking at the blood mist floating faintly inside the cave, Chu Hen's eyes revealed some caution. What is this place? After a short hesitation, Chu Hen's eyes flashed with determination. Then his figure flashed, and he turned into a stream of light, directly entering the cave between the mountain peaks. Caw-caw! The crows perched on the withered treetops cawed even more agitatedly. The blood-colored crescent moon behind the dark clouds gradually revealed a section of its tail. Under the shroud of the dim light, looking from afar, the two diverging mountain peaks looked just like the bloody mouth of a prehistoric giant beast. Calm. WonderfulBookhouse.com. Chapter 1452. Whoosh! A piercingly cold wind blew, and from time to time, a few terrifying demonic howls came from the distant mountains. In this dark world, the mountains, rivers, trees, flowers, grass, and rocks seemed to be covered with a layer of gray veil. On a flat land surrounded by mountains, there was a strange and peculiar ancient altar. On the altar, there was a blood-colored hexagram array drawn with dried blood. At the top of each corner of the hexagram, there were 9 human skulls as the core of the array. Beams of crimson light shot out from the talisman formation, connecting the chaotic void where the clouds gathered. High up in the sky, inside the star vortex where dark clouds surged, there was a split space that was obviously in a state of rupture. The split space formed a huge devouring hole that was about 300 meters wide. If one looked up, one could clearly see the wantonly crisscrossing space turbulence inside the devouring hole. And in the center of the devouring hole, there was a scarlet ball of light floating. The ball of light was about the size of a child's fist, and there were blood-like crystal patterns swaying inside it. It was such a small ball of light, but at this moment, it was releasing a dense, evil aura. Endless evil aura adhered to the edge of the devouring hole, like devil flames that constantly gnawed at the barrier, making it difficult for the devouring hole to close. Looks like it's here. Whoosh! Along with the light sound of wind breaking, the dust around the altar stirred up a circle of faint air ripples. Then, two young figures flashed and appeared here. Devil attracting pearl. Bai Qinyu looked at the blood-red ball of light floating in the middle of the devouring hole in the sky, and her watery eyes behind the mask faintly showed a trace of astonishment. So it's using the burning power of the devil-attracting pearl to open the plane passage. Meng Xiaolin also narrowed his eyes. He looked around and looked at the blood-colored altar and the hexagram in front of him. However, the devil-attracting pearl should only act as the core of this array. It seems that the devil race used the evil aura caused by the massacre on the Holy War platform to forcefully open the passage between the two places, Meng Xiaolin said while secretly shaking his head. War God Palace. It's one thing for the War God Palace to be annihilated, but it even created an opportunity for the devil clans to invade the Chaos Devil Realm. I'm getting more and more curious about the background of that person, called Chu Hen. He didn't mean it, but as soon as she heard the two words Chu Hen, Bai Qinyu couldn't help but lightly clench her lily-white hands. Don't waste time. Hurry up and repair the spatial crack. And Meng Xiaolin nodded slightly. Then his eyes turned cold, and his body emitted dazzling starlight. He immediately stepped into the air and flew towards the space-devouring hole. If he wanted to repair the passageway opened by the Demon Clan's army, he would first have to obtain the Demon Luring Pearl. Meng Xiaolin didn't say a word and directly rushed towards the location of the Demon Luring Pearl. However, just a second before Meng Xiaolin made his move, countless blood-colored light swirled out from the ancient altar of the hexagram below. Swish! The light swirls that soared into the sky were like the crimson whirlpool that intertwined. And in the middle of the whirlpool, the strong and dense evil aura actually quickly condensed into a ferocious and terrifying variant evil beast. The variant evil beast unleashed a strong killing intent and pounced towards Meng Xiaolin. The latter's expression slightly changed. He stretched out his palm, and a powerful and violent starlight palm descended, directly hitting the variant evil beast's body, instantly crushing it into a cloud of blood mist. However, before Meng Xiaolin could withdraw his aura, the intertwining light swirls that soared into the sky suddenly shot up. It was like a giant pillar of a crimson tornado blocking in front of the opponent. A series of creepy howls overlapped, and the blood-colored light swirls that filled the sky once again converged into many terrifying variant evil beasts. Meng Xiaolin immediately felt as if he was trapped in a group of devil beasts. What was even worse was that the demon luring pearl in the sky suddenly sprinkled down a beam of light. In an instant, the blood-colored light beam that enveloped Meng Xiaolin emitted a gravitational pull like a quagmire. The thousands of starlight that lingered around Meng Xiaolin's body immediately became especially dim, as if it was covered by a layer of shadow mist. Careless. Meng Xiaolin's heart was shocked. In the next moment, the group of ferocious evil beasts that danced chaotically pounced from all directions. Not good, Buzz. Suddenly, a layer of steady air wave trembled in the air. Along with the distorted space, the scorching air wave spread out in the void. A golden flame that rose out of nowhere suddenly appeared around Meng Xiaolin. The golden flame that glowed with a holy aura immediately enveloped the variant evil beasts, as if it was burning their souls, burning them into nothingness. Emperor Flame, Heavenly Soul, Fire. Meng Xiaolin's heart lit up. Turning his head to look, he saw Bai Qinyu standing on the ground below, surging with a golden holy light. The pair of eyes behind the mask overflowed with a majestic and holy light. I'll cover you. You go get the demon-attracting bead, Bai Qinyu said. Okay. Meng Xiaolin immediately agreed. He immediately clenched his fists, and a surging starlight beam erupted from his body. With Bai Qinyu's help, he immediately went against the momentum of the thick, blood-colored light beam. What is this place? In the deep and gloomy cave, Chu Hen carried a lot of caution as he walked forward. The deeper he went, the denser the evil aura floating in the air became. Moreover, there was also a pungent smell of blood. I'm afraid I can't go any further, Chu Hen thought to himself. The deeper he went, the larger the space inside the cave became. It was like an underground cave palace that had been buried deep in the ground for tens of thousands of years. Chu Hen did not come here to search for treasures, especially since this place was at the border of the God-forbidden blood prison. Any unexpected potential danger could happen at any time. It was not a wise choice to explore blindly. Just as Chu Hen was about to turn around and leave, a strange aura suddenly came from his violet palace. Chu Hen could not help but be startled. What's going on? After staying in my violet palace for so long, this is the first time it's sending me a signal. He hesitated for a moment. Chu Hen's eyelids twitched. All right, I'll go in and see what's inside. After saying that, Chu Hen's toes lightly touched the ground, and he sped up as if he was running on roofs and walls. It extended for a few miles into the cave, startling the bats that emitted bloody aura. Just as Chu Hen passed through the end of the passageway, his eyes suddenly opened up, and at the same time, he saw an ancient underground palace. Huge palace pillars supported this underground world that was filled with evil aura. Walking down the spacious steps, his gaze swept the surroundings. On the walls, there were countless ferocious and terrifying hybrid devil beasts. Chu Hen was a little surprised. He was also a little puzzled. However, the aura coming from his violet palace of true essence was becoming more and more intense. Then, Chu Hen's pupils shrank slightly. In front of him, in the center of the underground palace, there was a huge square blood pool surrounded by stairs on all four sides. Dense chi patterns were constantly rising, and the surface of the blood pool was constantly bubbling. At each of the four corners of the blood pool, there was a huge skull standing. There was a steady stream of blood-colored liquid flowing from the mouth of the skull into the pool. Strange and peculiar. It made one's hair stand on end. What the hell is this? Chu Hen seemed to be talking to himself. Saying that, he slowly approached the edge of the blood pool. Buzz! The moment Chu Hen approached, a complicated magic pattern suddenly appeared around the blood pool. Like interweaving dark vines, the dark red magic pattern wandered, forming a six-pointed star pattern around the blood pool. Is this what you're looking for? Chu Hen murmured. In the next moment, a mighty and terrifying aura suddenly gushed out from Chu Hen's body. Roar! Accompanied by a deafening dragon roar that resounded throughout the underground palace. In an instant, a huge monster shrouded in dark blood directly rushed out of Chu Hen's violet palace. Then, with a bang sound, it directly jumped into the blood pool, splashing a monstrous rain of blood. Chapter 1453. Roar! An impassioned dragon roar resounded both inside and outside the underground palace, and a rain of blood exploded in the pool of blood. In an instant, a huge monster enveloped in a dark, bloody aura directly rushed out from Chu Hen's true origin violet palace, then plunged headfirst into the pool. Bang! Waves of blood surged like a surging tide. In the huge pool, there was only a white skeleton of a dragon swimming in it. The huge skeleton did not have any signs of life. Only two balls of flame-like energy burned in its empty eye sockets. Looking at the scene in front of him, Chu Hen was especially surprised. He was even more surprised that the giant dragon skeleton, which only had a little bit of consciousness left, would be interested in this pool of blood. And then, a scene that made Chu Hen even more incredulous happened. He saw that the dragon skeleton, soaking in the blood pool, was absorbing the blood energy in the pool wantonly. Whoosh! The blood-colored essence energy in the pool was like a giant whale sucking in water, quickly gathering toward the giant dragon skeleton. Following that, under Chu Hen's astonished gaze, the blood-colored essence chi that was swimming around his body turned into countless fine lines of optical fibers. These optical fibers intertwined around the inside and outside of the dragon's spine and mixed into the left and right sides of the skeleton, forming a tendon-like light beam. This is... Chu Hen's eyes widened, and there was still shock in them. Roar! The dragon roar pierced the ears, and the space trembled. This dragon roar was several times more powerful than the previous one. The red light, rising from the empty eye sockets, became more and more intense. Along with a breath of life that was like a spring breeze, the dragon's spine that was originally bare like a pole was slowly growing red and white muscles. Chu Hen was shocked and doubtful. His heart was filled with shock. This blood pool can actually revive the flesh and bones of the dead. Upon closer inspection, the wisps of tender flesh were like the skin of a newborn baby, especially fragile. However, fresh flesh grew from every part of the dragon's spine and every part of the skeleton. Soon, the dragon skeleton was no longer as ferocious as before, but had a faint white color. However, his appearance was still terrifying. Chu Hen's heart was filled with excitement and joy. It was really unexpected. He had accidentally barged into this underground palace, and there was actually such a miraculous blood pool. Wah! The blood-red liquid in the pool shook violently. At this moment, an extremely cold and evil aura suddenly filled the air. A huge head, covered in scales, slowly rose from the blood pool behind the dragon skeleton. A pair of crocodile-like vertical pupils flashed with a bloodthirsty, demonic nature. Demon King Crocodile? Chu Hen was shocked. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, a massive and terrifying demonic figure leapt out from the blood pool. The monstrous demonic aura immediately filled the entire underground palace. The aura that caused people to tremble swept out in all directions. Chu Hen's pupils shivered, and a demonic purple light immediately burst out from his deep eyes. This was the lair of the demon Crocodile King? If that was the case, wouldn't this blood pool be used to heal its wounds? As expected, the shoulder of the demon Crocodile King that was chopped off by Meng Xiaolin from the Star Clan suddenly grew another one. Other than the fact that the scales were not as dense, there was almost no difference from the previous one. Before Chu Hen could calm down, the demon Crocodile King opened its mouth, and its sharp fangs shone with a sharp, poisonous light. Then it swung its incomparably huge tail and swept it towards Chu Hen. The huge force of the tail whizzed. Bang! There was a loud bang, and Chu Hen, who couldn't dodge in time, was swept by the huge tail. Boom! The fierce impact went all the way down, and together with the palace pillars that were shattered, Chu Hen was forcefully smashed into the thick stone wall. Dust was flying, and rocks were tumbling. The huge cracks that looked like spider webs spread out rapidly. Ow! Before the demon Crocodile King launched another round of fierce attack on Chu Hen, the other huge creature in the blood pool also erupted with earth-shattering ferocious power. The eye sockets of the giant dragon skeleton were filled with soul-stirring crimson light. It waved its sharp claws, and without saying a word, it pounced on the huge body of the demon Crocodile King. Bang! The two huge creatures collided with each other. Under the fierce impact of the giant dragon skeleton, the demon Crocodile King fell into the blood pool again. Monstrous waves of blood wantonly exploded. The ancient demonic formation around the blood pool glowed with a dazzling light. The ground was shaking, and the entire bottom of the palace was shaking uneasily. Ow! Ow! The dragon skeleton that was like a zombie T-Rex and the demon Crocodile King fought together. The most shocking scene unfolded in the blood pool, as if two ancient giant beasts were fighting each other. The fierce impact from the two continued to spread. The ground rapidly split open, and cracks appeared one after another. The surrounding walls also had cracks of various sizes. It seemed that if this continued, no matter how strong the underground palace was, it would collapse. Although the demon Crocodile King's severed shoulder had regenerated, it could be seen that the other's injury had not completely recovered. Under the fierce attack of the giant dragon skeleton, there were signs of it being suppressed. However, the demon crocodile king was still a king of the demon clan. Moreover, the other party was not a complete giant dragon. There was no flesh, no scales. It was just a dragon skeleton. The demon crocodile king immediately steadied its body. Its sharp, giant claws constantly slapped the giant dragon skeleton. The fresh flesh that had just grown out of the dragon skeleton was directly crushed and exploded. Ha! The demon crocodile king roared ferociously. Its whole body burst out with a strong crimson light, and its vertical crocodile eyes spurted out two sword-like beams of crimson light. Ha! With a heavy explosion, the two beams of crimson light directly penetrated the giant dragon skeleton's huge head. Along with the shattered bone fragments, the two flames in the dragon skeleton's eye sockets quickly dimmed, and the aura of life that had just recovered disappeared. Ha ha! The demon crocodile king seized the opportunity and directly pounced on the giant dragon skeleton. Its giant claws grabbed the dragon skeleton's throat, and the scales on its arms rapidly bulged. The giant dragon skeleton's spine was also pulled tightly. The distance between the skeleton's bones was quickly stretched. Roar! The deep dragon roar showed its powerlessness. All of a sudden, an incomparably sharp electric current surged in the underground palace. Crack! A series of dark green demon blood splattered. The demon crocodile king's ferocious vertical pupils rapidly shrank, and a gorgeous purple lightning arc pierced through its throat. The violent roar of thunder and lightning was like the cry of thousands of thunderbirds. A black divine sword covered in endless lightning directly pierced the demon crocodile king's throat from the back of its neck. At the other end of the sword hilt, Chu-Hen's eyes flashed with a strange demonic light. A faint trace of blood hung at the corner of his mouth, and his handsome face revealed a trace of cold and fierce aura. Next time, don't turn your back to the enemy, Demon King, Chu-Hen said coldly. Ah. The demon crocodile king let out a hoarse roar. It had never imagined that the seemingly weak human could silently deal a fatal blow to it. It was also at this moment that the dark flames in the eye sockets of the giant dragon skeleton that had been smashed into the pool of blood once again rose. Roar! Then the giant dragon skeleton once again pounced on the demon crocodile king, whose vital point had been pierced by lightning. Like a python, it coiled around the other party's huge body and dragged it into the depths of the blood pool. In an instant, the blood pool surged violently. Moreover, dark green demon blood gushed out. Chapter 1454. Wah! A series of shrill cries of ghosts and howls of wolves intersected with each other. Bang! A golden firestorm swept across the sky. The blazing holy flame spread in all directions. Countless hybrid demons and evil creatures that were glowing with evil and fiendish aura were like evil spirits from hell that were being burned by divine fire. They were reduced to nothingness amidst a wave of miserable screams. At the same time, above the void that was filled with blood aura, a dazzling starlight bloomed like a scorching sun, blooming with unparalleled brilliance. As the space trembled violently, a beam of starlight and holy light swept across the sky. In an instant, the ferocious and evil aura that gathered here was penetrated by the divine light. Countless crimson, ancient, demonic patterns flickered in the crack of the space. The incomparably sharp starlight slashed down like a heavenly blade. Boom! There was a loud bang. The blood mist in the sky was tumbling. Countless strange demonic patterns burst into a rain of sparks. Then, an evil demonic bead that was swaying with red essence fell as if it had lost its support. Meng Xiaolin of the Star Clan raised his palm gently. The demonic bead that was exuding a mysterious and demonic aura immediately fell into his palm. Done! Meng Xiaolin clenched his fist and immediately returned to the ground below. Got it, he said to Bai Qianyu, who was wearing a mask. The latter nodded slightly and didn't say much. Meng Xiaolin continued, The Emperor Flame Heavenly Soul Fire is really powerful. If you weren't here, I'm afraid it wouldn't be so easy to get this thing. Bai Qingyu didn't say much, but looked up at the sky. Although they had gotten the demonic bead, the crack in the space still showed no signs of healing. Her beautiful eyes turned slightly and looked at the star-shaped ancient altar not far away. Next, we need to reverse the demonic formation to repair the space tunnel. Yes. Meng Xiulin's eyes flashed with a trace of solemnity. I wonder if Di Qiong and Lu Mian are back. Reverse the demonic formation first. It will be stuck in time. Okay, I will reverse the demonic formation. You continue to protect me. With that, Meng Xiulin leaped up and landed steadily on the altar of the six-light array. Then he clasped his palms together, and countless strands of silver starlight swirled around his body. In an instant, the altar beneath him released a strange spatial fluctuation, and the crimson demonic runes on it slowly lit up. Activate! Meng Xiulin shouted softly, and his eyes glowed with dazzling starlight. In the deep and dark underground ancient palace, the surrounding walls were filled with long and narrow cracks. At the side of the huge blood pool in the center of the palace, Chu Hen's eyes were cautious, and there was a hint of deep meaning between his brows. At this moment, Chu Hen could no longer sense the Demon King crocodile's aura. Even the aura rhythm of the dragon skeleton was so subtle that it could be ignored. The most surprising thing was that the originally dark red pool had also turned into a clear pool without any color. All sorts of impurities were mixed in it, making it rather turbid. The corners of Chu Hen's eyes narrowed. All the energy contained in the blood pool had already been plundered. All of it had been absorbed cleanly. What exactly was the situation now? Chu Hen was not very clear either. Buzz, buzz. Suddenly, there was a lot of restlessness at the bottom of the pool. Water splashed and rolled, quickly forming a chaotic whirlpool. The strong spatial fluctuation became more and more intense, like the solemn and rapidly brewing deep-sea magma. The entire underground palace was shaking incessantly. When the spatial tremor reached its peak, boom, there was a loud noise, and a huge pool suddenly exploded. Roar! At the same time, a loud dragon roar penetrated the entire underground palace. This was a dragon roar. It exuded supreme ferocity and domineeringness. The astonishing and terrifying aura had a majesty that made one's soul tremble. The waves in the sky were like a tsunami, and the violent wind and rain attacked. A powerful creature exuding a gloomy aura suddenly appeared in front of Chu Hen. Hua! The majestic and powerful aura was like an insurmountable mountain. The ferocious and huge head spewed hot dragon breath. Dragon. At this moment, what appeared in front of Chu Hen was a real dragon. It was not a fleshless dragon bone. More than half of its huge body was still in the pool. Its sturdy clawed torso was wrapped in tightly packed black scales. From the claws to the dragon's arms, it was strong and powerful. From a dragon's spine to its back, it shone with sharpness. Its perfect body exuded an extraordinary and noble aura. The originally zombie-like empty head was now especially full, and a pair of vertical giant eyes exuded a majestic and domineering aura. Looking at this incomparably ferocious creature in front of him, which was completely different from before, in Chu Hen's heart, he was surprised, suspicious, and happy. Was this the original appearance of the other party? Or was it the form after swallowing the Demon King crocodile? The black scales seemed to be much darker than the Demon King crocodile scales. But the pair of crocodile vertical eyes were almost the same as the Demon King crocodiles. Chu Hen was a little suspicious. However, at this moment, Chu Hen did not have time to think about this, because he saw a cold chill in the black dragon's eyes. Indifference. Coldness. A coldness without the slightest bit of emotion. Chu Hen did not seem to be surprised by this at all. Even though he had brought the other party out of the dragon burial ground that had been sealed for countless years, and even helped it recover some of its spiritual consciousness in the martial sect's underground spirit vein, and even used his true yuan to nourish the other party. Everything that Chu Hen had done was nothing more than using the other party's power. But to the noble and powerful dragon race. A mere human was absolutely not allowed to be restrained. A man and a dragon. Just like that, they confronted each other in the underground palace. One had a fierce look in his eyes, and his aura was as majestic as a mountain. The other was calm, and his body was as straight as a cold spear. There was not a hint of fear on Chu Hen's face. Even though the other party had swallowed the demon king crocodile, the overlord of the demon race, and had absorbed all the essence energy in the blood pool. What? I was the one who helped you recover to this level. Now you want to come back and swallow me? Chu Hen coldly stared at the other party's cold vertical pupils. Not afraid, not afraid. The giant black dragon slowly rose its huge body, and the coldness on its body lessened slightly. However, in the next moment, a black flame-like light erupted from its body, and at the same time, a cold light suddenly shot out from its eyes. Roar. Accompanied by an ear-piercing roar, the giant black dragon directly swooped down, opened its ferocious bloody mouth, and pounced towards Chu Hen. Dragon race. Noble ancient bloodline. In the end, it was not willing to submit to any human. In an instant, Chu Hen's eyelids twitched, and with a screech, an impassioned wave of air trembled, and a demonic purple light suddenly burst out from his pupils. Together with the 7 black dots in the depths of his pupils, a powerful space law spread out. Buzz, a powerful wave of air spread out, and a layer of solid purple light screen immediately blocked between the two. Ice-cold vertical pupils. Demonic purple pupils. 1 dragon and 1 man, 2 pairs of strange eyes, faced each other at close range. The atmosphere of the entire underground palace became abnormally chaotic, and mottled cracks rapidly appeared on the ground and walls. Buzz? The gorgeous flowing starlight rotated in the opposite direction, and the demonic array on the 6-pointed star altar rotated in the opposite direction. Together with countless bright starlight surging into the sky, the spatial crack in the vortex of wind and clouds in the sky was shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. It's done. Above the demonic array, Meng Xiulin's eyes revealed a trace of joy. He flew down the altar. When I return, I will strengthen the restriction on the Chaos Demon Domain. The Yimo clan will not be able to open the planar passage for a long time. Bai Qianyu's beautiful eyes slightly lifted. They're also back. Is that so? Meng Xiulin's eyes lit up, and he looked sideways, only to see a few dazzling aurora-like afterimages directly streaking across the sky, flashing over. Chapter 1455. Swoosh, a series of rapid wind-breaking sounds. In front of Meng Xiulin and Bai Qianyu, a few other young figures with strong auras immediately flashed in front of them. Looks like we came back at the right time. The plane passage is starting to close up. Di Qiong from the Sky Burning Clan was shocked as he stared at the space-devouring hole that was gradually closing up. The monsters from the Hybrid Demon Clan are really restless. Luckily, we came in time. Otherwise, the Chaos Devil Domain would become a battlefield again, Lu Mian from the Great Wilderness Clan said. Meng Xiulin nodded as he saw all his companions return. He then asked, "Where's the Demon King Crocodile? Did you kill him?" Di Qiong shook his head in pity. "I don't know where that bastard is hiding. We are almost at the border of the God-forbidden blood prison, but he seems to have disappeared. We can't find him at all." Lu Mian sighed. "What a pity, it was such a good opportunity. We wanted to look for him for a while longer, but there seems to be some movement at the God-forbidden blood prison. Brother Di Qiong and I are worried that the demon army will come to support us, so we can only choose to retreat. You guys made the right choice." Although Meng Xiulin felt that it was a pity, he had no other choice. This place was close to the God-forbidden blood prison. They were already taking a huge risk by coming here. Without any support, the only thing they could do was to repair the plane passage opened by the demon race as soon as possible and retreat immediately. Buzz buzz. The hole in the sky was closing up at a steady speed. Very quickly, it shrunk to a diameter of 100 feet. The healing speed is not bad. We should be able to repair it before the hybrid demon army counterattack, Meng Xiulin said. The others also nodded in agreement. Next, they just had to wait for a while. Roar. In the dark underground palace, powerful auras continuously stacked up and filled every corner of the underground palace. A man and a dragon. The aura that they emitted was like a confrontation between a king and an ancient giant beast. The cold eyes of a crocodile, a pair of devilish purple eyes. The black chi wave and the purple flame collided head-on, like two heavenly flames burning each other. Although Chu Han had restored his physical body and consciousness, the proud dragon was not willing to submit to this human. He spat out a ball of scorching dragon breath from his nose and mouth. In an instant, the purple light screen in front of Chu Han rapidly melted and cracked like a layer of melting ice. The coldness in his eyes grew colder and colder. An ominous glint that emitted a strong, killing intent burst out of the black dragon's eyes. Whoosh! At this moment, the space where the two of them were immediately plunged into a dreamy distortion. The images quickly overlapped, and everything around them immediately became hazy and blurry. Soon after, the area they were in seemed to sink into an endless dark abyss. At this moment, Chu Han felt his divine sense become somewhat dazed. His firm mind was like a small sail drifting on the sea, violently swaying. What was going on? Buzz, buzz. Suddenly, right at this moment, another strange fluctuation of energy silently attacked from behind Chu Han. A pair of mysterious, dark, and enormous eyes quietly appeared in the boundless, gloomy sky. The enormous eyes seemed to come from the chaotic universe and contained a mysterious, unknown power that originated from the dark river. This aura is... Chu Han's heart skipped a beat. This aura seemed to be familiar to him, but he couldn't tell where exactly he had felt it before. In the next instant, the mysterious and unknown aura surged over. An incomparably violent and heavy sound suddenly exploded in the underground palace. In an instant, the earth and sky exploded. Along with the heaven-shaking violent energy, the black dragon's overwhelming aura suddenly collapsed completely. The terrifying shockwave that swept out recklessly was like an uncontrollable volcano's magma, tearing apart the earth, breaking through the ground, and directly shooting up in all directions. It's about time to leave. Meng Xiaolin looked at the space above his head, which was less than 10 feet wide, and said with an obviously relaxed expression. Di Qiong, Lu Mian, and the rest also nodded. At this stage, even if the Yimo clan rushed over, it would be of no use. Moreover, they also had to leave this place before the plain passage completely healed. Let's go, Di Qiong said. However, as soon as he finished speaking, two mountain peaks more than 10 miles away suddenly burst apart. Boom! Bang! An incomparably violent and heavy explosion shook the earth. The forest was destroyed, and the underground river was flattened. Beams of purple light shot up into the sky, and the terrifying violent shockwave swept out in all directions with an earth-shattering momentum. Everywhere it went, everything was crushed into powder. Roar! A terrifying dragon roar instantly resounded across the land. What's going on? Meng Xiaolin, Lu Mian, and the rest who were preparing to leave were shocked. Demon King Crocodile? No, it doesn't seem to be its aura. It has our human aura. Lu Mian of the Da Huang tribe said cautiously. Human? Who could it be? Could it be that someone followed us in? Ridiculous. Wow, hee hee. At the same time, in the distant mountains, a group of demons roared. Along with a soaring, evil aura, the black mass of the Yimo army once again attacked. Like a black tsunami, it pounced towards them from afar. Among them, there were a few that were as strong and evil as the Demon King Crocodile. The reinforcements from the God-forbidden blood prison are here. Lu Mian clenched his fists in fear. There are a few kings of the demon clan. Damn it, that person really deserves it. He dares to barge in without knowing where we are. Di Qiong's eyes were surging with flames as he shouted angrily. Meng Xiaolin's eyes sank, and he immediately said, Let's not care about him. Let's retreat. Humph, you still want to save him? This kind of person deserves it. Let him be buried in the demon territory. Let's go. Meng Xiaolin shook his head and exchanged a glance with everyone. Then everyone moved and flew towards the plain passage that was gradually closing. What's wrong with you? At this moment, Meng Xiaolin looked at Bai Qinyu, who hadn't left yet. You guys go first. I'll catch up later, Bai Qinyu suddenly replied. Meng Xiaolin was stunned. Why? The plain passage is closing. Once we're trapped here, the consequences will be unimaginable. Don't worry about me. You guys go. After saying that, Bai Qinyu ignored Meng Xiaolin's dissuasion and turned into a beam of light that leaped into the sky. Where's she going? Di Qiong looked at Meng Xiaolin in confusion. The latter shook his head, indicating that he didn't know either. She can't be going to save that idiot, right? She's never been a meddlesome person. Di Qiong was even more confused. Don't worry about her, Lu Mian said. How? Can we care? Which of the three of us is a match for her? Forget it. Don't waste time. Let's go first. After saying that, the few of them didn't stay any longer. They flashed into the space-devouring hole that was only about 7 to 8 feet wide. Roar! A dragon roar that shook the heavens resounded in the ears. The huge underground palace's roof was directly blown off, and the ground looked as if it had been hit by a meteorite, cracking in all directions. It was as if a fierce storm had wreaked havoc, and the original 2 mountain peaks had disappeared, turning the place into ruins. The giant dragon soared into the sky with a fierce look in its eyes. It swooped down again and pounced on Chu Hen with a ferocious aura. At this moment, Chu Hen's eyes emitted a demonic purple glow. The 7 black spots in the depths of his pupils shook violently. At the same time, a layer of strange black shadow attached to Chu Hen's back. He stretched out one hand, and a black vortex rapidly erupted in Chu Hen's palm. Kacha! The space cracked, and light shuttled in the vortex. A majestic pulling force quickly enveloped the black dragon's huge body. Crack! From the whirlpool that erupted from Chu Hen's palm, countless dazzling purple lightning bolts rapidly shot out. The lightning bolts that were like vines of light of different sizes were like a large net that wrapped around the black dragon's body. In the end, it couldn't escape its fate. Chapter 1456. Sizzle. Dazzling purple lightning intertwined to form a huge demon-trapping net. The black dragon was like a trapped beast, struggling and twisting inside. The 7 black dots in the depths of Chu Hen's eyes constantly emitted powerful energy fluctuations. A suppressive aura enveloped the black dragon from all directions. Just stay here obediently. Chu Hen's eyes emitted a demonic, cold light as he shouted. Crack! Countless bolts of lightning shot up into the sky, like chains of lightning piercing through the blue dome of heaven. In an instant, Chu Hen's body exploded. Lightning and fire rained down, dazzling. The chains of lightning quickly shrouded the black dragon's body. In an instant, the black dragon roared. Its solid body began to distort and become illusory. Then, a gentle whirlpool of light appeared. Accompanied by a powerful pulling force, the black dragon actually transformed into a black pillar of flame, penetrating into Chu Hen's palm and arm with the force of a dam. Buzz! The space violently shook. Looking at the black pillar of flame that was endlessly drilling into the whirlpool at the center of his palm, Chu Hen's arm seemed to have a fierce flood rushing into it. His entire arm had the illusion that it was about to explode. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, the black pillar of flame, hundreds of meters long, directly merged into Chu Hen's body. An extremely violent and ferocious power immediately wreaked havoc in his body. Chu Hen's eyes widened, and the veins on his forehead bulged. His demonic purple eyes faintly became sharp and vertical. Roar! Incessant dragon roars rang out from within his body, accompanied by an uncontrollable and powerful aura. An illusory dragon shadow lingered around Chu Hen's arm. His sleeves rose, and the veins on his arm popped. A cloud of dense black, baleful energy faintly appeared, like a deadly poison in his bones. How could this evil creature be so powerful? He couldn't suppress it in a short time. Chu Hen was even more alarmed. Just what kind of background did he have? Moreover, this was only a body that had just mostly recovered. It was hard to imagine how terrifying the other party had been at its peak. Suddenly, at this moment, a gentle and holy light surged from behind. Chu Hen was shocked. Before he could even react, the halo of light poured into his back like a spiritual spring. Following that, streaks of golden light patterns extended out like ancient spiritual vines and quickly wrapped around Chu Hen's arm. Under Chu Hen's astonished gaze, the illusory dragon shadow that wrapped around his arm seemed to have been sealed and retracted back into his body. It was like a receding stormy sea, like a sinking landslide and tsunami. The corner of Chu Hen's eyes narrowed. He saw wisps of delicate black, mysterious patterns flowing around his arm. These black, mysterious patterns then formed a striking dragon-shaped pattern on Chu Hen's arm. The area of the pattern was not very large. It occupied about 1/3 of Chu Hen's left forearm. It was vivid and lifelike, giving people the feeling that it was an ancient tattoo drawn on it. Mysterious and domineering, the chaotic wind calmed down. His sleeves fell, completely covering it. Chu Hen also subconsciously turned around. In the next instant, his demonic and charming eyes faintly trembled. What entered his eyes was astonishingly a beautiful figure wearing a mask. Her soft long hair swayed in the wind. Her peerless beauty was unconcealable, like the moon and stars that had fallen into the mortal world. The gentle wind blew, giving off an otherworldly aura. Chu Hen raised his brows. By go! Without waiting for him to finish, the other party directly threw down a word. Wah! Tisk! Hearing the horrifying Yimo screeches, Chu Hen finally realized that the vast and mighty ferocious demon army was like a black tide that was rushing towards him. Without any hesitation, Chu Hen and Bai Qinyu immediately rose into the air and flashed towards the passageway at their fastest speed. Howl! The aura of the Yimo shook the heavens, causing the entire demonic region to tremble. A biting cold stench pressed down from behind. Large groups of ferocious Yimo occupied the ground and the sky like a swarm of predatory bees, sweeping through everything. Moreover, there were a few enormous figures with monstrous Yimo auras among the Yimo horde. There was a huge Yimo with 3 ferocious beast heads on its neck and a ferocious human head on its tail. There was also a 100 feet tall Yimo with 8 pairs of poisonous eyes on its chest. The Yimo aura emitted by them was stronger than the Demon King Crocodile. Evidently, they were all Overlord-level Yimo kings from the divine, forbidden blood prison. Swoosh, swoosh. Chu Hen and Bai Qinyu moved extremely quickly, leaving behind a series of afterimages in the void. After continuously traversing more than 10 kilometers, the planar passage above the ancient altar soon appeared in their line of sight. However, the passageway had already shrunk to less than 2 meters wide. In fact, it was only slightly more than a meter wide. Hurry, Bai Qinyu said in a low voice. Okay. Chu Hen especially solemnly nodded his head. The two of them, one in front and one behind, drew 2 arcs in the air and leapt towards the entrance of the passage like 2 beams of aurora. At this moment, the bizarre demon with 8 pairs of poisonous eyes revealed a sinister sneer. Hee, you want to leave just like that? What kind of place do you think the divine forbidden blood prison is? Do you think you can come and go as you please? Buzz, buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, the Yimo emitted a thick, murderous aura. The 8 pairs of poisonous eyes in front of him flickered with a dark green, evil light of death. Leave all of them behind. Along with the extremely shocking rhythm of power, a dozen dark green light pillars shot out in an instant. They rapidly pierced through the sky and whizzed toward Chu Hen and Bai Qinyu. It was like a destructive light pillar condensed from poison. The air currents were quickly sliced apart. Feeling the terrifying and dangerous aura coming from behind him, Chu Hen's eyes narrowed, and he immediately activated the power of his demon eye. 7 stars, shield of punishment, buzz. The space was distorted, and purple light illuminated the sky. A giant purple shield that was tens of meters wide blocked the two of them. The solid purple shield of light was steady and heavy, and the pattern of a pair of purple demonic eyes on it was very demonic. Bang! Bang! A series of heavy muffled sounds reverberated in the void, and the powerful green poisonous light pillars hit the purple shield of light like giant spears and halberds. Wave after wave of mighty light waves swept across the world. However, just as Chu Hen was about to take the opportunity to retreat, there was a violent tremor, and one of the strongest green light pillars penetrated the front and back of the shield of punishment. Whoosh! The rapid airflow surged, and the terrifying poisonous light rolled up a series of destructive killing intent toward the two of them. At the same time, Bai Qinyu stacked his palms, and a brilliant golden holy light gathered and surged around him. Buzz! Following that, a golden palm print with flowing lights and vibrant colors rose rapidly and collided head-on with the most powerful green light beam. Bang! The earth-shaking airwaves exploded in the air, shaking the void and cracking the space. The violent aftermath swept in all directions, and the ancient altar magic array below was instantly flattened into ruins. The golden light and the green demonic chi wantonly moved, like the wind and clouds converging. The biting cold airwaves swept over Chu Hen and Bai Qinyu. Crack! Accompanied by the sound of something breaking, the mask on Bai Qinyu's face suddenly cracked, and then with a bang, the mask split in two. It was like a bright moon dancing in the sky, beautiful beyond compare. Chu Hen raised his eyes and saw a devastatingly beautiful face appear in front of him. In an instant, the air seemed to stagnate. But it was also at this moment that the last spatial hole in the void also finished healing, and with the last crack closed, the plane passage above the two of them immediately disappeared. Not good. They can't get out. The fastest time to update is now. Chapter 1457. Whoosh! Frost and dust danced in the air. Looking at Bai Qinyu's peerlessly beautiful face that was exposed to the air, Chu Hen actually faintly became somewhat sluggish. His eyes were like water, as if they were swaying with traces of enchanting mist. That pair of bright and beautiful peach blossom eyes had a unique temperament that made one's heart enchanted. However, it was also at this moment that the passageway above their heads finally completed its final closure without any delay. The last crack quickly closed, and the long and narrow crack quickly turned into a tiny trace. Heh! Roar! At the same time, the alien demon clan's army had already arrived. Like a black tidal wave, the beast horde quickly occupied the empty space in all directions and immediately surrounded the two of them. Stupid humans, it's time for you to pay the price for your blindness. The exotic demon with 8 pairs of eyes on its body revealed a sinister smile. Tear them apart. Woo! Wah! The demons danced wildly, and the overwhelming black shadows rolled up endless bloodthirsty, murderous aura and pounced on the two. The situation. In an instant, they were in a desperate situation. Chu Hen's eyes turned cold. However, just as he was about to summon the formless Emperor Blade to fight against the group of demons, his hand was gently held by a soft, seemingly boneless, jade-like little hand. Chu Hen was startled. Looking back, Bai Qinyu's beautiful side profile quietly sank into his eyes. Without any words, Bai Qinyu directly pulled Chu Hen and rushed toward the plane passage that only had a tiny gap left. However, just as they were moving, Bai Qinyu's beautiful eyes turned cold. Whoosh! Along with an invisible rhythm of space, countless dazzling golden lights instantly bloomed. Like the bright moon, like the stars. His originally extraordinary temperament was once again sublimated. In an instant, under Chu Hen's astonished gaze, Bai Qinyu's pair of bright and beautiful eyes quietly turned into a pair of mysterious and unfathomable golden pupils. The holy and noble supreme aura was like that of an emperor. It had a deterring power that seeped into the depths of the soul. This is Chu Hen's heart was full of surprise and surprise. Buzz, a strong aura was released, and 8 strange light spots appeared in the depths of the golden pupils. The specks of light chased and spun, and an extremely powerful aura spread out. The space in front of the two of them immediately became extremely distorted. Rumble, wind and thunder rumbled, and the tribulation clouds surged. The spatial cracks that had shrunk into a sliver split open once again. The planar passageway had been reopened. Chu Hen was shocked. The Yimo army behind him were both shocked and furious. Boom! In an instant, the plane passage that had opened up immediately expanded to a width that allowed 2 people to pass through. Without the slightest hesitation, Bai Qinyu pulled Chu Hen, who had a look of disbelief on his face, and flashed into it. Many of the hybrid demon army wanted to chase after them. However, the forceful opening of the spatial passageway healed extremely quickly. Buzz! The entire space trembled and the wind and clouds dispersed. The crack immediately closed up. Roar! Woo! Looking at the 2 people escaping in front of them, all the demons let out roars of extreme indignation. The exotic demon with 8 pairs of eyes also gave off a sinister and evil aura. It furiously raised its hand and crushed the dozens of Yimo subordinates around it into balls of green blood mist. Every single one of its poisonous eyes flashed with a sharp and vicious light. Oomph! God-Eye Sacred Tribe. Blue skies, white clouds, clear rivers, and green forests. Under the azure sky, everything was peaceful and tranquil. Suddenly, a wave of spatial fluctuations appeared out of thin air and broke the tranquility of this place. Buzz, buzz! Right at this moment, an illusory distortion appeared in the space above a mountain range, like ripples on the surface of the water. Following that, 2 young figures, a man and a woman, flashed out of the distorted space and landed on the mountain range below. The bright world instantly washed away all the pressure from before. I'm back. Looking at the clear space around him, Chu Hen could not help but heave a sigh of relief. It was really dangerous just now. And now, the 2 of them were still holding each other's hands. Chu Hen looked at the beautiful face in front of her, a hint of gentleness in her eyes. How are you? At this moment, Bai Qinyu did not look good. She was a little pale, and her beautiful eyebrows revealed a hint of fatigue. It was obvious. She had just forcefully opened the plane passage, and she had expended a lot of energy. Buzz! The holy golden light in Bai Qinyu's eyes quickly disappeared, and she let go of Chu Hen's hand. The 2 of them looked at each other. Both of them had indescribable and complicated expressions on their faces. The encounter in the immortal and devil tomb. The coincidence of knowing each other. The haste of parting. They did not even have a proper farewell back then. My surname is Bai. My name is Bai Qinyu. The moment she took off her mask, even Chu Hen could not help but feel stunned. Shallow and deep, eternal joy. Such a beautiful name, as if it was prepared for her. Like a footprint left in the snow, shallow and deep, white and pure. Then this is the first day. Oh, what? The first day we met. It's time for me to go. Where to? To where I should go. Today is the last day. We will never meet again. The moment she put on the mask, there was a heartbreaking loneliness. That day, when he looked at her back, Chu Hen felt that he was like a thorn that pierced her heart. They would never meet again, but they met again. I'm sorry, I almost ruined things. In the end, it was Chu Hen's apology that broke the silence. She did not explain. Perhaps she knew that the other did not want to hear an explanation. Bai Qinyu pursed her red lips, and there was a trace of sadness in her eyes. Looking at the young man who was growing up, she replied indifferently. Forget it. Are you okay? How are you? Chu Hen asked cautiously. However, Bai Qinyu did not answer, and her beautiful eyes turned in another direction. They are coming for you. Chu Hen was startled. Bai Qinyu's bright eyes, filled with determination, looked into Chu Hen's deep black eyes and said, We will never meet again. Even if you see me in the future, don't follow me. Chu Hen did not speak and looked in her eyes. There seemed to be a trace of sadness hidden in the depths of her eyes. Shortly after, Chu Hen lightly nodded his head. Okay, I promise you, even if I see you in the future, I will never follow you. It's a deal. We won't meet again. We won't meet again. Chu Hen nodded firmly. Finished speaking, Bai Qinyu moved sideways from Chu Hen's side. Then, a ball of faint golden brilliance enveloped him. OM! A whirlwind rose up, and the peerlessly beautiful figure turned into broken shadows that filled the sky and disappeared beside Chu Hen. Whoosh! The wind blew through the forest and the mountain stream. Like the turbine of fate turning, 2 points that had never intersected touched each other, and then quickly separated. Who would be whose passerby? Who would pass by whose world? Chu Hen sighed softly and murmured in a low voice, Goodbye. See you again. Big brother Chu Hen. Junior brother Chu Hen. At this moment, a mixed call came from a direction behind him. I say, boss, why did you run over here? Mu Feng's grumbling voice quickly followed. Then, a large crowd ran in front of him. Although the holy war had ended, the major sects and forces had also retreated from the Chaos Devil domain. But because of Chu Hen, Wu Zong, the Demon Region team, led by Mu Feng, and the ancestral butterfly clan on Xiao Xiaowan's side were still waiting here. Where did you go? Demon Region? Xiao Xiaowan blinked her big eyes and asked. Chu Hen smiled, but shook his head. His gaze swept across the people of Wu Zong. After going through the holy war on the high heaven platform, the people of Wu Zong seemed to have been completely cleansed, and everyone revealed a calm aura after being sharp. In this battle, they lost countless companions. It also made each and every one of them proud. Are you okay, junior brother Chu Hen? Xiao Xingyi asked. I'm fine. I've kept everyone waiting. Chu Hen replied, slightly apologetically. I say, boss, now that you're at the top of the wind cloud list, can you be more stable in the future? Don't lose control of your legs every time you see a beauty. Moreover, I didn't see any beauty there. Mu Feng joked. How is it? The holy war has ended. Come with me to the demon region to play for a few days. There are also many cute girls in the demon region. Get lost. Xiao Xiaowan pushed Mu Feng away. Chu Hen, don't listen to him. If you want to go, go to the ancestral butterfly clan. You left too hastily last time. I'll treat you well this time. Seeing his friends return to his side, Chu Hen's mood improved. He smiled and turned to look at Huang Fuqing and his brother. At this moment, the people of Spirit Phoenix Valley had already left, but Huang Fuqing and Xia Hao were still there. What are your plans? Chu Hen asked. Everyone also turned to look at Huang Fuqing. Mu Feng, Long Xuan, Yi Yao, and the others all knew about the grudge between Huang Fuqing and Chu Hen. After so many years, they met here, and their emotions were different from the others. Soon after, everyone tactfully retreated to the side and gave the two of them a place to be alone. I have to go back to Spirit Phoenix Valley. Huang Fuqing said, You still want to go back? Yes, no matter what. I obtained the soul of the Battle Phoenix, and the Valley Master of Spirit Phoenix Valley takes good care of me and my brother. Even if I want to leave, I have to tell them personally. Because of Xiao Yao Cheng, Huang Fuqing and Spirit Phoenix Valley would definitely be estranged. However, because of this, Huang Fuqing should return to the sect first. If she had to leave, she would return the soul of the Battle Phoenix before leaving. Chu Hen naturally had no reason to stop her. If you leave Spirit Phoenix Valley, come to the martial sect. I will take care of you and your brother. Really? Huang Fuqing's beautiful eyes were smiling. Of course, Chu Hen affirmed. Huang Fuqing smiled, her eyes bright and teeth white. She nodded, I will think about it. Chu Hen also smiled. The two looked at each other, discarding all the distracting thoughts that had bothered them. All right, have you seen your teacher Shilon? Huang Fuqing suddenly asked. Chapter 1458. By the way, have you seen your teacher Shilon? Just as they were about to part ways, Huang Fuqing suddenly asked this question. As soon as he said this, Chu Hen's heart skipped a beat, and his expression changed abruptly. Teacher Shilon? You've seen her? Where is she? Seeing that Chu Hen was at a loss, Huang Fuqing was a bit surprised. So you haven't seen her yet? Chu Hen's heart became more and more restless. Did she come to the Midland as well? Yes. Huang Fuqing nodded and continued. Around 2 years ago, senior brother Su Li, and a few others were carrying out a mission assigned by the sect, and we passed by a place called Qing Shu Yuan. I accidentally met her there. Qing Shu Yuan? 2 years ago. Chu Hen's eyes flashed with a fiery light. What is that place? What's she doing there? Chu Hen continued to ask. Huang Fuqing shook his head slightly and said thoughtfully, Qing Shu Yuan is a very beautiful place. It's also a paradise far away from the mortal world. I only chatted with her for a short while before I left in a hurry. I originally wanted to invite her to the Spirit Phoenix Valley, but she refused, so I'm not sure if she's still there. After all, it had been more than 2 years. The interaction between Huang Fuqing and Xilan was also limited to Chu Hen. Perhaps the short interaction between the two was just a passing of each other's shoulders. However, to Chu Hen, Xilan's importance was self-evident. In Chu Hen's heart, teacher Xilan was like his family, indispensable. When he was in the Eastern Victory State, the last time he heard news about Xilan was before the Thunder Saint Palace was destroyed. After that, all traces of her seemed to have sunk into the boundless sea and were nowhere to be found. Now that he heard news about Xilan from Huang Fuqing, Chu Hen was exceptionally excited. He immediately made his decision. He was on a green tortoise plane. If you see Professor Xilan again, say hi to her for me, Huang Fuqing said softly. Chu Hen nodded. Yes, I will. Then, we'll take our leave first. Goodbye. Then, Huang Fuqing turned to look at Huang Fu Hao, who was not far away. The latter understood his intentions and nodded to Chu Hen, Long Xuan Xuang, Mu Feng, and the others. Years of love and hatred. Today, it would also scatter with the wind. Huang Fu Hao, who used to be the ruler of a country, felt relieved. Farewell, everyone. Everyone raised their hands and cupped their fists. Farewell. Take care. Chu Hen said to Huang Fuqing. You too. Then, under everyone's different gazes, Huang Fuqing and his brother left. Looking at their backs, Mu Feng, Long Xuan Xuang, and Yi Yao, who were all from the Sacred Star Dynasty, felt an indescribable sadness. No matter what, it was a relief to be able to let go of the grudge that he had been holding. What do you think? Chu Hen, come to the Kunchi mountain range with me. I'm bored to death there, and Han Ichuan is my only friend. As soon as Huang Fuqing left, Qiao Shaoan went up to pull him away. Go away. Short legs. Didn't you hear? Chu Hen wants to go to Green Tortoise Plain to find his Professor Xilan. Everyone had heard the conversation between Chu Hen and Huang Fuqing. Long Xuan Xuang, Yi Yao, and Qiu Xingyi all looked at Chu Hen. Senior brother Qiu. Chu Hen said to Qiu Xingyi, Wang Li, and Wu Yin, you go back to the martial sect first. I need to find someone very important. They looked at each other. Qiu Xingyi asked, do you need our help? No need. Chu Hen refused. Looking at the disciples of the martial sect who looked like they had just climbed out of a pile of corpses, he cupped his fists and said, Senior brothers, you have followed me, Chu Hen, to fight in the sacred war. It's been a hard journey. I, Chu Hen, have accomplished the mission given to me by the sect master. My only regret is that I couldn't let everyone go home. Chu Hen, I apologize to all of you. Then, Chu Hen knelt on one knee and faced the disciples of the martial sect. The disciples of the martial sect also knelt on the ground. Junior brother Chu Hen, please don't say that. It's a great fortune for us to be able to follow you to fight in the Chaos Devil domain. We can die without regrets. You're right. The martial sect is proud of you. Senior brothers, let's kowtow to junior brother Chu Hen. From today onwards, the entire martial sect is willing to die for junior brother Chu Hen. We will die for you. Everyone was sincere. Qiu Xingyi, Wang Li, Wu Yin, Zhao Qingyi, and the other martial sect disciples all knelt on the ground and responded in unison. They were brothers who had gone through life and death together. They had gone through more than one calamity together. The four great academies of the martial sect had never been so united before. Chu Hen's eyes turned red as he helped Qiu Xingyi and the rest to stand up. He then shouted, Disciples of the martial sect, listen up. Yes, you guys go home first. I'll be back soon. Yes. Let's go home. It's finally over. Haha, let's go back. Like a triumphant warrior, the cheers of the martial sect disciples resounded in all directions. Junior brother Chu Han will go first. You must go back early. You're the newcomer that I, Wu Lao Air, personally brought into the sect. Wu Mian shouted. Ha ha ha, Wu Lao Air, you can boast about this for a lifetime. Ding Xiaoyan laughed. Ha ha, that's right. Wu Lao Air, you're the most insightful in the entire sect. We won't laugh at you anymore. Don't call me Wu Lao Air. I want to be Boss Wu. The martial sect team set foot on their way back. Who would have thought that Wu Mian, who was looked down upon, would trick an inconspicuous disciple into the Beichen Peak Academy? Now, that young newcomer had already set foot on the top of the ranking list. What a group of cute guys. Mu Feng said with a smile. Chu Han smiled. There was still relief in his eyes. He had completed the task assigned by sect master Dongfeng Hengji. Since you're going to Qing Chu Plain, I'll go with you. Mu Feng made a decision immediately. He raised his hand and snapped his fingers at the demonic beast team behind him. Hey, Doghead Marshal, come here. Master Mu Feng, I'm Nethasai, the commander of the Wolf Warrior clan. A demonic beast general, who was about 3 meters tall and wearing battle armor and holding a battle axe in his hand, came forward. What Wolfhead Marshal, Doghead Marshal, it's about the same. Well, you guys go back to the demon region first. My friend and I have something to do first. The commander of the Wolf Warrior hesitated. Master Mu Feng, your identity is special now. It's not good for you to stay outside for too long. All right. Do you think I can fly into the sky? I'll go back after I'm done. Get lost. All of you get lost. The commander of the Wolf Warrior had no choice but to agree to Mu Feng's unreasonable behavior. Yes, your subordinate obeys. Immediately, he waved the battle axe in his hand and said to the demonic beast army, "Return to the demon region. Roar! Roar!" With a mighty roar that shook the heavens, the demonic beast army also embarked on their journey back to the devil region. Meanwhile, Mu Feng and Haozi chose to stay. In that case, I'll stay too. Xiao Xiaoan naturally did not want to be outdone. She said to a handsome, 4-winged butterfly behind her, "You guys go back to the Ganchi mountain range first. I'll go back later." Compared to the Wolf Warrior's persuasion, the butterfly was very straightforward. It seemed that he had long been used to Xiao Xiaoan's willfulness and unruliness. He did not even need to persuade her. Yes. The handsome butterfly immediately agreed and said to Han Ichuan, "Master Han, please take care of Master Qiao." Han Ichuan nodded. "And leave it to me." After that, the experts of the Butterfly Clan followed Wu Zong and the Demon Region army left. Soon, only Chu Hen, Long Xuan Xuang, Yao Mu Feng, Xiao Xiaoan, Han Ichuan, Haozi, and the Yinyang Beast Noni were left. Just like when they left the victorious East Prefecture. The people who had been separated had gathered together again. Only that old man Shifeng Zi is left. Mu Feng said thoughtfully. Yeah, time flies. It feels like it was yesterday when we left the victorious East Prefecture. Xiao Xiaoan added. Everyone, how have you been? Chu Han looked at these precious friends in front of him. From the Sacred Star Empire to the victorious East Prefecture, and now in the Midland. Everything that happened in these years was still vivid in his mind. Haha, of course not. I thought I could catch up to you after I merged with the demon god skeleton. I didn't expect you to surpass me. Chu Han is still Chu Han, top of the wind cloud ranking. Congratulations. Mu Feng said. Don't even think about it. You'll never catch up to my big brother Chu Han in this lifetime. Yi Yao replied. That's not necessarily true. I'm only at the initial stage of merging with the demon god skeleton. When I truly obtain the demon god's bloodline, I'll soar into the sky. How dare you call yourself a demon god? Don't you find it embarrassing? Xiao Xiaoan scolded. Everyone laughed and chatted as they left the Chaos Devil region and embarked on their journey to Qingshu Plain. By the way, Mu Feng, what happened to you in the demon region? Chu Han asked. It's all thanks to you. Originally, I was going to be dragged to the demon region to be executed so that they could retrieve the demon god skeleton. However, that fox promised you that he would spare my life, so he kept delaying the higher-ups of the demon region from killing me. In order to not let me die, the demon region went through a lot of trouble. They fed me elixirs while thinking of ways to retrieve the demon god skeleton. And then, Xiao Xiaowan interrupted. And then, after being fed too many elixirs, my sword devil Xian physique actually broke through and became a saint physique. Moreover, the demon god skeleton and my sword devil bloodline gradually resonated. The group of old fellows in the demon region couldn't sit still anymore. In for a penny, in for a pound, in for a pound. They urged me to merge with the demon god skeleton and the demon god skeleton. I didn't expect my human physique to be able to resist the demon god's bloodline. Hee. As Mu Feng spoke, he danced around in a smug manner, whereas Haozi, who was at the side, sighed lightly instead. Actually, he suffered a lot. For more than half a year, there wasn't a single piece of good flesh on his body. There were many times when I wanted to give up. Rather than suffering like this, why not die peacefully? Fortunately, he pulled through in the end. Everyone just met. Let's talk about something happy. Mu Feng hurriedly stopped. Everyone sighed lightly as well. Even though Mu Feng always had a frivolous appearance, he was extremely arrogant in his bones. To be able to make the demon god's winged roar pass down the bloodline power to him, this could be considered as a blessing in disguise. Is that fox still in the demon region? He's really so handsome. Xiao Xiaowan was suffused with infatuation as she said. He shouldn't be anymore. Lord Junjiang seems to have left the demon region half a year ago. Haozi replied. He still had a lot of respect for the nine-tailed fox, who had tried his best to protect Mu Feng's life. What a pity. I really want to see him again. Yeah, I also think he's super handsome. Yao also added. Then what about your big brother Chu Hen? Of course big brother Chu Hen is handsome. Ha 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 ha. After surviving the bloody slaughter on the battlefield, the joy of reunion after a long separation was also very rare. While talking and laughing, everyone set off towards Qingshu Plain. However, it was like the brief calm before the storm, the turbulence after the gathering of the storm, the chaos after the fight between dragons and pythons. Everything seemed to have just begun. The storm was rising in the 9 provinces, and the undercurrents were quietly surging. After this unprecedented holy war, the Midland would be experiencing an unprecedentedly great shock. Midland, the world was going to change. Served at the 3rd watch. Good night, everyone. Calm. Miao Shu Wu. Chapter 1459. The wind and clouds were surging, and the 9 regions were changing. With the end of the Holy War, the teams of the major forces and sects were on their way back. And after this wind and cloud competition, it also indicated that the structure of the Midland would be completely disrupted. Martial ancestor. The sky was high and the clouds were wide, with iron chains across the bridge. The steep and spectacular floating road was connected to a majestic mountain range. On the mountain range, there stood an antique and magnificent palace. Walala. At this moment, the sound of hurried footsteps came from the heaven-traversing chain bridge. Ao Yunzhuang, the Dongxian Peak Master, Situ Song, the Nanling Peak Master, Ning Xiushui, the Beiqin Peak Master, Yuan Shang, Luo Song, and the other hall masters, as well as a group of martial arts sects upper echelons, elders, and administrators, were hurriedly crossing the suspended road. Sovereign, before everyone entered the palace, North Star Peak Master Yuan Shang couldn't help but call out loudly. His voice was filled with unconcealable excitement. Sovereign. The people who quickly entered the main hall shouted one after another. Above the main hall, there was a majestic figure with his back facing everyone. His arms were raised high and seemed to be faintly trembling. Sovereign, our martial ancestor. East Xin Peak Master Ao Yunzhuang clenched his fists and shouted word by word. We've reached the top, set foot on the wind and cloud ranking of the middle state. As soon as he finished speaking, the majestic figure in the main hall laughed towards the sky. Ha ha! Then he slowly turned around, and 2 streams of hot air flowed out of his eyes. Sovereign, several peak masters were shocked. They had never seen Dongfang Hengji lose his composure like this. However, Dongfang Hengji raised his hand slightly, signaling everyone not to panic. He held the chair beside him with one hand and laughed a little crazily. His face was filled with great relief. Ha! How many years? How many years have I waited for this day? I, Dongfang Hengji, will not disappoint my ancestors. Looking at Dongfang Hengji, who was crying tears of joy, many high-level officials of martial ancestor were moved, but at the same time, they couldn't help but feel sad. Over the years, they all knew how much pressure Dongfang Hengji was under. Especially after the last Holy War, all the talented disciples of the martial sect had their cultivations crippled by the Lingyun sect. That heavy blow almost caused the martial sect to be unable to recover. It was because of the decline of Wuzong that Dongfang Hengji's mission seemed extremely heavy. When even surviving in peace was a kind of pressure, Dongfang Hengji was always carrying the burden for the revitalization of martial sect. Right now, how could Dongfang Hengji not be excited when a Wuzong stepped onto the top of the Fengyan list? How could he not be gratified? How could he not be ecstatic? In an instant, all the bitterness and hardships from before were rewarded. Never forget, there will be an echo. He, Dongfang Hengji, had finally waited for this day. The Wuzong had finally ushered in the day where they could make a comeback. They're back, they're back, they're back. At this moment, an excited figure rushed into the hall. Sect leader, the Four Peak Masters, they're back. Everyone's brows raised, and their expressions became even more excited. Dongfang Hengji also quickly calmed down and shouted, "Hurry up and welcome them." This was the first time the master of Wuzong led the Four Peak Masters, and the Four Courtyard Masters personally welcomed the disciples of Wuzong. This was also a major moment that would be recorded in the history of Wuzong. Tianwu Peak. Tens of thousands of people cheered, and the momentum was loud. On both sides of the huge Tianwu Peak square, all the disciples of Wuzong gathered. Amidst the deafening cheers, the warriors who returned from the Holy War once again set foot on this familiar place. Led by Dongfang Hengji, the senior members of Wuzong immediately rushed from the inner court to welcome them. Sect leader, Qiu Xingyi, who was walking at the front, had a pair of torch-like eyes and handed a blood-stained Wuzong flag to Dongfang Hengji. "We have not failed the mission." Dongfang Hengji's arms trembled, and he quickly stepped forward to hold the flag firmly in his hands, and at the same time held Qiu Xingyi's wrist. Speechless, Dongfang Hengji was somewhat speechless. He looked at the young figures behind Qiu Xingyi, who exuded tenacity and sharpness, and each of their eyes was as sharp as a cold spear. What kind of tragic killing had they experienced to forge such an aura? Compared with other disciples of Wuzong who had not participated in the Holy War, these people in front of them were like goshawks soaring in the sky. Others were like fledglings who had not seen the world. "Thank you for your hard work." Dongfang Hengji spat out these few words for a long time. His eyes were red, and his eyebrows showed relief. The peak masters behind him also clenched their fists, and their hearts were still touched. A general success was built on thousands of bones. They still remembered that when they left Wuzong, there were 3,000 disciples on the road to the Holy War, but now, only about 1/3 of them returned. The peak of the list. This was the glory that was built on the ground full of blood and bones. "Where is Chu Hen?" Beichen Peak Master Yuan Shang asked quickly. Similarly, this was also a question that the others were concerned about. Junior brother Chu Hen, Yi Yao, and junior sister Xian Shuang have gone to Qing Tu Yuan. They'll be back later. Wang Li stepped forward and said, "Qing Tu Yuan?" The few of them were stunned. Although they were a little surprised, they did not say anything. West Dome Peak Master Situ Song clenched his fists lightly as his old eyes searched the crowd. In the end, he could not help but ask, "Pei Yi? He? Where is he?" At the mention of the two words Pei Yi, Qiu Xingyi, Wang Li, and the others could not help but look a little sad. Situ Song could not help but understand when he saw everyone's reaction. After all, he was Pei Ye's master, so there was obvious sorrow on Situ Song's face. That's right, he has always been unable to get along with Chu Hen, so it's normal that he can't come back this time. everyone could naturally hear the hidden meaning in Situ Song's tone. These words were quite self-deprecating. However, Qiu Xingyi said, "Peak Master Situ, Pei Yi is our hero." Hero? Situ Song was startled. In the battle against the cloud-soaring school, Pei Yi blocked a fatal sword attack for Chu Hen. His sacrifice saved the lives of all the people of the cloud-soaring school. Qiu Xingyi said each word with a pause. Situ Song's slightly cloudy, old eyes faintly shone with a crystal light. Not only Pei Yi, all of our brothers and sisters who sacrifice themselves are true heroes. Qiu Xingyi said. The wind blew through the forest, and the clouds danced in the sky. Under the sky, the martial sect was immersed in a solemn atmosphere, filled with sorrow and joy. At the same time, the Midland had already welcomed a huge storm that swept across the entire 9 prefectures. It was like an earthquake, like a tsunami. The shocking news was like a hurricane sweeping through the streets, quickly spreading to every corner of the world. The Holy War has ended. Big news, big news. The War God Palace was massacred for the first time in the Holy War. The invincible War God, Mang Yuan II, and the 4 War Gods have all died. Life is full of ups and downs. All the people of the cloud-soaring school have died in the Chaos Devil domain. The debt of the last Holy War has now been paid back by the martial sect 100-fold. The shocking news could be said to have shocked the entire Midland. The news covered the entire 9 prefectures, almost turning the entire 9 prefectures upside down. Martial sect. If it was before the Holy War began, countless people would have scoffed at it. But today, everyone was shocked and horrified. Chaos Devil Domain. The storm platform of the Holy War. A mere martial sect, stepping on the corpses of countless enemies, showed disdain to everyone. But, above the martial sect, the one who truly turned the world upside down was the name Chu Hen. Who was Chu Hen? Before, no one had ever heard of this name. But now, even a 3-year-old child knew him. The ranked slaughterer on the storm ranking list. Chapter 1460. In the Midland, a storm started. After the Holy War ended, 2 major events started a great storm in the Midland, which swept across the entire world. One was the invasion of the Chaos Devil region by the hybrid demon army. The other one was the battle for the honor list that shocked the history books. The invasion of the hybrid demon army happened so suddenly that even the top 10 holy clans showed up. When people heard the news, they were a bit panicked at first. However, after they heard that the portal opened by the hybrid demon army was sealed, they didn't care too much about it. Soon, the news about the hybrid demon army was drowned by the ranking list competition. Boom! A violent tremor exploded in the hall, and a violent and chaotic shock wave swept out. Martial school. I will tear you into pieces. Angry roars resounded in every mountain of the cloud-soaring martial school. In the palace, the bricks on the ground were all broken. Broken pieces of tables, chairs, and cups were everywhere. Headmaster, please calm down. The group of leaders of the cloud-soaring martial school stood on both sides of the palace, trembling. Their faces were all dark and blue. On the top of the palace, a man in his 40s was standing there. He looked like an angry beast with a pair of red eyes. This man was none other than the leader of the cloud-soaring martial school, Hidong. Calm down? How can you calm down? Hidong yelled. The cloud-soaring martial school had 2,000 to 3,000 people, but none of them made it back alive. Yuan Yi, Qi Si, and Li Xiong, the 3 top-ranked geniuses, all died in the Chaos Devil region. To the cloud-soaring martial school, this was a fatal blow, a great loss, and an unprecedented humiliation. The funniest thing was that this humiliation didn't come from their opponents who were more powerful than them. It came from the martial school, the weakest martial school that had been humiliated by the cloud-soaring martial school. Did the martial school really do this? One of the elders asked doubtfully. He wasn't the only one who didn't believe it. No one in the palace wanted to believe it. This slap to the face was loud and clear. It's true. Even the palace of war gods fell. Another person responded with a deep voice. The palace of war gods. Hearing these 3 words, the faces of the people from the cloud-soaring martial school turned pale. Report, at this moment, A timid voice came from outside the door. A disciple of the cloud-soaring sect walked through the gate in fear. His face was filled with nervousness. "Speak," Hidong shouted coldly. "Tier reporting to Sect Master. Swift Horse City's Flying Rain sect has rebelled. What did you say?" Hidong was even more furious. At the same time, the higher-ups were also shocked and furious. These bastards. Damn it. The Soaring Cloud sect's way of doing things was particularly overbearing. All along, the Soaring Cloud sect had been annexing other small and medium-sized sects and clans to expand their own strength. As a result, the Soaring Cloud sect's power had rapidly expanded in recent years. However, there was a huge drawback to the rapid growth of its strength. Most of the clans and sects that were annexed were only forced to surrender. They didn't have much loyalty. Now, the Lingyun sect had suffered such a heavy blow, and all the elite disciples of the sect had lost their lives in the Chaos Devil domain. The collapse of this core force had also directly led to the collapse of all the bonds that connected it. When the news that the Soaring Cloud sect had been completely annihilated in the Holy War spread across the entire Midland, the overbearing system that had been maintained for hundreds and thousands of years collapsed especially quickly. After the Flying Rain sect in Swift Horse City had chosen to leave the Soaring Cloud sect, many other affiliated forces had also left the control of the Soaring Cloud sect. They didn't worry about Hidong's revenge at all, because the most powerful batch of disciples of the Soaring Cloud sect had all died, and the remaining people were far from being able to make a difference. Without a doubt, the Soaring Cloud sect was facing an absolutely fatal blow. The collapse this time would be much more violent than the collapse of the Martial Great sect. With interest, 100-fold, the Soaring Cloud sect had been slapped in the face. This was the revenge from the Martial Great sect. Have you heard? Almost all the affiliated forces of the Soaring Cloud sect have rebelled. The noisy streets, restaurants, tea houses, and markets were all discussing the decline of the Soaring Cloud sect overnight. It's normal. They were oppressed by force. Now, the Soaring Cloud sect can't oppress them anymore. It's really tragic. The Soaring Cloud sect has been completely destroyed. But to be honest, the Martial Great sect is really ruthless. I heard from the people who came back from the Chaos Devil domain that the Soaring Cloud sect was massacred by the Martial Great sect for 1,000 miles. The water within a few hundred miles of the Tianju Lake was all dyed red. Even the ferocious beasts in the lake were full. That's right. The Martial Great sect really can't stop them this time. Inside the Five Elements Sacred Clan. This year is really an eventful year. Since ancient times, the recruitment for the Holy War has never been as chaotic as today. In front of a luxuriously decorated palace, an old man held an ancient scepter in his hand. He looked at Lin Yinghe, Yang Zhongxiao, and the others in front of him with a cautious expression. "You're lucky to be able to return safely. Great Elder, do you remember Elder Qiu?" Lin Yinghe suddenly asked. The old man was startled at first, then replied, "I remember. Why? Didn't he die in a mission more than 10 years ago?" Lin Yinghe glanced at Yang Zhongxiao, who had an uncomfortable look on his face. "Elder Qiu had a son who used to be a member of our clan. Later on, he left the clan. This time, I saw him at the Holy War recruitment field." "Is that so?" The old man's emotions did not fluctuate too much. That person is now the chief disciple of the Martial Great sect. His cultivation has also reached the third order of the Saint King realm. It's no exaggeration to say that his talent is not much worse than mine. If we can get him back to the Five Elements clan, he will definitely become a fierce general in the future. Listening to Lin Yinghe's words, Yang Zhongxiao's expression became even uglier. The Great Elder nodded. "That's feasible. Then let junior brother Yang handle it." Lin Yinghe's face showed a bright smile. He turned to the side and patted Yang Zhongxiao's shoulder. "Junior brother Yang, you must bring that Qiu Xingyi back for me." Looking at the seemingly harmless but malicious smile on the other party's face, Yang Zhongxiao gnashed his teeth in hatred. Back then, he was the one who drove Qiu Xingyi out of the Five Elements clan. Now that he was being asked to bring him back, he might as well just kill him. Before Yang Zhongxiao could refuse, the Great Elder immediately issued an order. Then, Yang Zhongxiao shall go. I. Yang Zhongxiao wanted to cry, but had no tears. His face was blank and helpless. However, he knew the great elder's temper very well. The other party seemed kind and amiable, but in reality, he was an extremely terrifying old man. Not daring to disobey the order, he could only nod with tears in his eyes. Yes, disciple obeys. Ingo. Yes. Yang Zhongxiao walked out of the hall with a look of despair. Then, only Lin Yinghe and the great elder were left in the hall. The former looked at Yang Zhongxiao's back with a faint smile on his face. The great elder naturally understood the other party's intentions. Perhaps Qiuxingyi's talent was indeed good, but Lin Yinghe's main purpose was not to call him back. Instead, he wanted to establish a relationship with Chu Hen through Qiuxingyi. A person who can step onto the top of the wind cloud list is indeed a person worth roping in, the great elder said with deep meaning. Lin Yinghe smiled. Then, a great sense of seriousness appeared in his eyes. Not only that, the great elder looked at the other party's especially serious expression. His slightly murky old eyes faintly revealed traces of coldness. There's one thing that I'm not too sure about. Lin Yinghe's expression became more and more serious. He frowned slightly and said in a heavy tone, "He controls an extremely domineering flame. Moreover, that flame is purple." Domineering purple flame? The great elder's skinny fingers that held the scepter could not help but tighten. He stared at Lin Yinghe's serious face. The latter paused and continued, "If I'm not wrong, that flame is one of the three great heavenly fires, the burning desolation holy demon flame." What? The great elder's murky eyes immediately flashed, and a chaotic wave of air swept out from his body. Chapter 1461. You two still have a face to come back. Why aren't you two the ones who died? Inside a luxurious palace, the pillars around the palace were swaying up and down with beautiful electric arcs. Beautiful decorations hung on the surrounding walls. Three-dimensional illusory electric arcs surrounded both sides of the main hall's entrance like a barrier, separating the inside and outside of the house. However, at this moment, the atmosphere in this majestic hall was especially tense. The senior management of the Thunder Saint clan all had a cold expression on their faces. Everyone's eyes were like sharp swords as they stared at Lei Jixin and Lei Xiaolan below the hall. In this sacred war, the Thunder Saint clan sent about 800 genius disciples. Now, only the two of them came back alive. It was easy to imagine how furious everyone was, especially after hearing that Chu Hen was the one who destroyed the Thunder Saint Palace in the Eastern Victory State. The Thunder Saint clan was even more furious. The source of everything seemed to be Lei Jixin. It was getting more and more intense. It was an unimaginable rage. Meanwhile, Lei Jixin's face was ashen, and her expression was gloomy. She was haggard like a patient who was losing weight. She didn't seem to be affected by the Thunder Saint clan's rebuke. Even if they took all the blame on her, Lei Jixin wouldn't have any complaints. The battle on the High Clouds platform. His heart had already been destroyed by Chu Hen. "I really want to kill the two of you." A middle-aged man in a black robe, standing above the main hall, shouted through gritted teeth. Lei Jixin looked up and said indifferently, "Jixin only wishes to die. Fine, I'll let you die." With that, the middle-aged man's aura rose, and violent electric arcs flowed between his palms and arms. However, at this moment, an old man by his side raised his hand and stopped him. "Don't be impulsive, judicial elder. Third elder, don't stop me. If it weren't for these two idiots, Lei Zhun and the others wouldn't have died in the Chaos Devil Domain." The old man let out a long sigh. "Even if you kill them, it won't change what happened." Then, the old man opened his eyes slightly and said to Lei Jixin and Lei Xiaolan, "I have something to ask you." The two girls raised their heads slightly. "Is that person really the one who destroyed the Thunder Saint Palace?" "Yes," Lei Xiaolan replied timidly. "Within only a couple of years, he has come to the Midland from the small, victorious East Continent. Who on earth is he?" "I don't know. Previously, he was only a disciple of Mount Kunliu." Mount Kunliu. The Thunder Saint tribe had never even heard of this sect. The third elder stared at their pale and weak faces. Bloodline limit? What is the limit of his bloodline? Lei Jixin gritted her teeth and shook her head. You don't even know this? You two pieces of trash. What's the use of keeping you alive? The judicial elder shouted. It's a type of purple lightning. Lei Xiaolan gritted her teeth and said, when he was fighting Mang Yuan-tu, he only used the inheritance power of the great Emperor Fortune. Apart from that, there was only a type of purple lightning. Purple lightning? Everyone glanced at each other and saw the confusion in each other's eyes. In terms of the power of lightning, who in the entire Midland could compare to the Thunder Saint tribe? There was very little purple lightning. The third elder's face turned gloomy as he stared at the two of them indifferently, since he didn't get much useful information out of them. Leave the Thunder Saint tribe. I don't want to see the two of you again. From now on, don't say that you're from our tribe. The two girls' expressions changed slightly as they clenched their fists. To be honest, they were not afraid of being killed. However, once they were expelled from the Thunder Saint tribe, it meant that they would be exiled forever like stray dogs. Although they were talented, they were not outstanding in the Midland, where geniuses were as numerous as the stars in the sky. No one knew whether their future would be difficult or not. The two girls clenched their teeth and nodded. Yes. After that, the two girls turned around and slowly left with difficulty. We're letting them go just like that. The judicial elder seemed to think that the punishment was too light and gnashed his teeth in anger. The third elder only shook his head and signaled him not to say anything. After the two punching bags left, everyone in the hall remained silent. The atmosphere was tense and anxious. What should we do next? Someone carefully broke the silence. The third elder's eyes shone with a cold light. Although the Thunder Saint tribe has suffered a great loss this time, it's not to the point where we'll perish. Everyone's expressions softened a little. The Thunder Saint tribe had only sent less than 1,000 people for this holy war. They all knew exactly how much strength they had left. According to my calculations, the Lord should come out within a year. During this period of time, we should try our best to stabilize the situation in the tribe. The third elder said in a deep voice. Everyone's eyes brightened as soon as they heard the word Lord. Reverence appeared on their faces. The Lord has been in closed-door training for a long time. The first elder and the second elder are protecting him. If he can come out successfully this time, then this loss will not be worth mentioning. You're right. The Thunder Kuan should be back soon. At that time, the Thunder Saint tribe will rise again. The atmosphere in the hall eased up a lot. Then the third elder said, also, send someone to investigate the background of that Chu Hen. He paused for a moment, and his cold eyes revealed the sharpness of an eagle. The person who can kill Mang Yuan-tu is definitely not an ordinary person. Lei Jixin and Lei Xiaolan, who had left the hall, were like empty shells that had lost their souls as they walked aimlessly outside. The other people in the tribe looked at them with disgust and disdain. You still have the face to come back alive. Not only did you kill senior brother Lei Yuan, but you also harmed senior brother Lei Zhun. You're really a jinx. Tui, get out of the Thunder Saint tribe. The mockery from the surrounding people was exceptionally harsh. Lei Xiaolan looked at the haggard Lei Jixin and smiled bitterly. It's better for us to die. Lei Jixin gritted her teeth. Her eyes were filled with hatred as she replied, I don't want to die like this. Even if I have to live, I have to wait until the day that person dies. The Thunder Saint tribe will definitely not let this go. They will definitely find him. Are you still dreaming? Can't you tell? The Thunder Saint tribe can't kill him. Lei Xiaolan said with a face full of mockery. Impossible. I know that the Thunder Saint tribe has stronger people. Lei Jixin was a little dazed. However, Lei Xiaolan's smile became even more disdainful. Hee, you always said that I'm stupid, but now I know that the truly naive person is you. I admit that the limit of the Thunder Saint physique is indeed very strong, but can it beat the 10 strongest sacred physiques? The 10 strongest sacred physiques? What did you say? Lei Jixin looked at her with a trembling face. What 10 strongest sacred physiques? Lei Xiaolan had a disdainful sneer on her face. She no longer had her usual innocence. At this moment, it was as if she had completed a transformation after recognizing this dangerous world. She stared at Lei Jixin's trembling face and said word by word, the limit of the 10 strongest bloodlines, the demon pupil sacred physique, clang. It was like a bolt from the blue that exploded in Lei Jixin's mind. Her already pale face instantly lost all color. She stared in disbelief at the other party's face that was no longer innocent. W, what did you say? W, what didn't you tell them just now? Why should I say it? Can't you see the Thunder Saint tribe's attitude towards us? Can't you blame us for everything? So you Lei Jixin are so stupid. That purple flame is the burning desolation Saint demonic flame. It's one of the 3 strongest mystical flames that can instantly burn the 2 of us to ashes. Stop dreaming. After saying that, Lei Xiaolan left decisively without looking back at the Thunder Saint tribe's central hall. Lei Jixin was trembling so much that she couldn't move an inch. She originally thought that her heart was dead, but there was nothing that could strike her anymore. However, when she heard the words, demon, pupil, sacred physique, a huge sense of destruction enveloped her mind again. Chapter 1462. For the next few days, explosive news about the Holy War enlistment spread like wildfire. The violent storm swept across the entire Midland and even spread out to the surrounding areas. About the martial ancestor sect, about Chu Hen, everything about the competition for the Wind Cloud list had become a hot topic for everyone. Who do you guys think that Chu Hen is? I heard that he became the champion of the inter-sect battle as a new disciple in his first year in the martial ancestor sect. Could he be sent by the Devil region? Isn't he familiar with the people from the Devil region? I don't think so. Rumor has it that he came from the East region. Countless people came to visit the martial ancestor sect. Many of his admirers even chose to join the martial ancestor sect just to meet Chu Hen. The tide rose, the boat rose. Along with the rising popularity, the martial ancestor sect rose rapidly from the bottom of the first-rate sections. Soon, it left the Hanyun sect, Profound Sun Palace, Qixiao Pavilion, Huanyu Palace, and many other sects far behind. Everyone's curiosity about Chu Hen continued to grow, and all kinds of guesses about his background spread everywhere. At the same time, there was another thing that the world was paying attention to. It was the ranking of the Wind Cloud list. According to the previous Holy War enlistment, the ranking of the Wind Cloud list would be decided immediately. Who could replace who? Who was stronger than who? You only needed to leave your name on the stone tablet that represented the Wind Cloud list based on your ability. You had the right to challenge those who were ranked higher than you, and others had the right to replace you. However, what was different from the past was that although this year's Holy War enlistment was filled with unprecedentedly intense battles, there were not many battles between geniuses ranked on the Wind Cloud list. The first battle was between Mang Yuan-tu, who was ranked first, and Tang Bufan, who was ranked second. Finally, the winner was decided. Before the others could show their skills, Chu Hen, who had slaughtered the Wind Cloud list, appeared. After that, it became an all-out battle between the martial ancestor sect and the War God Palace. The other sects had nothing to do with it. Finally, when the battle was over, everyone's fighting spirit was completely extinguished. Looking at the ground littered with corpses and rivers of blood, as well as the tragic scene of the Palace of War, the Thunder Saint clan, and the other allied sects being massacred, everyone's legs turned to jelly and their backs turned cold. They didn't have any intention of rising to the top of the leaderboard at all. Especially at the end of the rankings, the invasion of the hybrid demon army caused chaos. This also directly announced the end of the Excellence List battle. Due to these reasons, the ranking on the Excellence List was exceptionally difficult. For many days, the various sects and forces led by the Great Emperor Palace, the New Moon Sacred Clan, and the Five Elements Sacred Clan gathered together to discuss the ranking of the honor list. Finally, on the 10th day after the end of the Holy War, a list of names was announced. First on the Wind Cloud list, martial arts great master, Chu Hen. There was no doubt about it. No one even stood up to object. After being dominated by Mang Yuan-tu for many years, the invincible war god fell in the chaos demon domain, ending his legend. The second place was still held by Tang Bufan from the Great Emperor Palace. Although Tang Bufan lost to Mang Yuan-tu on the sacred battle platform, his position on the list was not affected. The strength of his puppetry technique was obvious to all. Therefore, there was no objection to Tang Bufan's ranking. As for the third place, it was also the half-demon of the New Moon Sacred Clan, Lai Xingyuan. Many people objected to this ranking. The key to the disagreement was the young human who had merged with the Demon Emperor's divine winged centipede, Mu Feng. In the battle between the martial arts great master and the Palace of War, Mu Feng killed the war god priest, Ji Liang, who was ranked 4th. This was enough to prove his strong ability to dominate the rankings. In terms of combat power, many people felt that Lai Xingyuan was no match for Mu Feng. However, the two of them had not fought before. Therefore, he did not have the main qualifications to replace Lai Xingyuan. After some discussion, Mu Feng was ranked behind Lai Xingyuan, replacing Ji Liang on the leaderboard. The 5th place did not change. It was still the 8-armed Emperor Minister Wei Yin of the Great Emperor Palace. The 6th place was originally Lei Zhun of the Thunder Clan. However, after he was killed by Chu Hen, he was no longer on the leaderboard. He was replaced by Lin Yinghe of the Five Elements clan, who was originally ranked 7th. After Lin Yinghe was the ghost-faced Emperor Minister Qin Yong of the Great Emperor Palace. After that, Long Xuan, who had obtained the inheritance of the Ice Empress, defeated the war god Helian Qi. Naturally, she had to replace him on the leaderboard. However, considering that Helian Qi had been injured by Chu Hen before, he was not at his peak. Therefore, Long Xuan's ranking was temporarily behind Sidu Hanya of the Windfrost City. Therefore, the top 10 of the leaderboard. They were Chu Hen, Tang Bufan, Lai Xingyuan, Mu Feng, Wei Yin, Lin Yinghe, Qin Yong, Sidu Hanya, Long Xuan, and Xiao Xiaowan of the Ancestral Butterfly Clan. As for the top 10 of the leaderboard, there were relatively few objections. After all, Mang Yuan-tu, who was ranked 1st, and Lei Zhun, who was ranked 6th, had both died at the hands of Chu Hen. Therefore, there was an empty spot in the middle. The people at the back naturally went up to replace him. Moreover, the Spirit Phoenix Valley genius Xiao Cheng, who wielded the power of darkness, also fell from his pedestal after the news spread that he had been devoured by the Battle Phoenix soul. Xiao Cheng's ranking dropped from the original 12th to the 20th place. Huang Fuqing, who had performed well against Lei Zhun in the battle, also received much attention because she had obtained the Battle Phoenix soul. She replaced Xiao Cheng in the ranking and rose to the 11th place. After that, Ji Tao, who should have been ranked 13th, moved up. However, Ji Tao publicly said that he was not as strong as Hanyan's sexy Zhou. When mentioning Zhou, he was especially amazing. With his own strength, he had blocked everyone from the profound Sun Palace and the Heaven Condensing Pavilion, especially since he had not displayed his full strength from the beginning to the end. And with Ji Tao's words, Zhou's ranking also soared to the 12th place on the leaderboard, ahead of Ji Tao. In this sacred war, the martial ancestors had become the real main characters. All the other sects and forces had been reduced to supporting roles. Qiu Xingyi's ranking on the leaderboard had also risen greatly. From the original 46th place, he had entered the 20th place, successfully entering the upper ranks of the leaderboard. Moreover, Yi Yao, Wang Li, Qi Qianying, and Wu Yin, the martial ancestor geniuses who had reached the Saint King realm, were also on the leaderboard. With the help of the secret realm opened in the Chaos Devil Domain and the supreme sacred explosive blood pill that Chu Hen had given them, their strength had greatly increased. However, there were only 50 places in the leaderboard, which also caused their rankings to be lower, outside the 30th place. After going through this holy war, many sects and forces had obtained the inherited power passed down by their predecessors. The overall strength of the geniuses on the leaderboard had also improved a lot. Even some Saint King realm powerhouses could only be ranked at the bottom of the leaderboard. As for those half-step Saint King realm and peak ancient realm 9th order powerhouses, they were not even qualified to get close to the leaderboard. However, compared to the time when only Qiu Xingyi had set foot on the leaderboard, the current martial ancestor had leaped 1,000 miles, directly becoming one of the most powerful forces in the Midland. The number of people on the leaderboard had also become the most among all the sects and forces. The rise of the martial ancestor had become an inevitable trend, and Chu Hen's name would also resound throughout the central continent. At this moment, Chu Hen and the others had already left the Chaos Devil domain and had almost crossed half of the central continent, marching in the direction of Qingshu Plain. Damn, I'm only ranked 4th? Which bastard's ranking was this? I have to talk to him. In a small city near the west coast of the Midland, outsiders who had come from afar were sitting in a tea house by the street. Everyone was drinking fragrant tea while taking a short break, listening to the chatter of the people not far away. Being ranked 4th is not bad. I think it's high, Qiao Shaoan retorted. What high? I kicked down the original 4th place. That person is a bit weak. With his strength, he can't be ranked so high. So there's also a problem with your ranking. Shut up. Stop arguing. I've been listening to you all the way here. In any case, Big Brother Chu Hen is ranked 1st. There's no problem, Yi Yao said with a little admiration. All right. We can challenge him at any time, anyway. When the time comes, I have to go to the Great Hall. If I can't be 1st, I'll be 2nd. Mu Feng seemed very dissatisfied. Then hurry up and go. Strike while the iron is hot. Qiao Shaoan continued to tease. Are you kidding me? We're about to reach Qingshu Plain. As they spoke, everyone subconsciously looked in the direction of the city tower. At this moment, Chu Hen was standing on the city wall with his back, gazing into the distance to the west. There, surrounded by green mountains and valleys, one could feel the natural beauty that was isolated from the rest of the world, even from afar. Will he be there? Chu Hen's eyes slightly narrowed, and he murmured softly. Chapter 1463. Hidden Sky City. Inside the city governor's estate. Dad, we're back. Why aren't you coming out to welcome the geniuses on the excellence list? A loud female voice resounded from the front courtyard to the back courtyard. A young man and a young woman swaggered through the courtyard and headed for the inner mansion. Where did this little girl come from? At this moment, the two of them came to a halt. They saw a little girl around 12 or 13 years old standing beside a pavilion in the courtyard. The little girl had a delicate and lively appearance. Her skin was as white as snow, and her bright eyes were staring curiously at the young man and woman who were walking in. Are they new servants? She doesn't look like one from her attire, the man said in confusion. The little girl's attire was not inferior to theirs at all. I know. The woman raised her index finger with a shocked expression. She must be Dad's illegitimate daughter. TSK, TSK, TSK. I didn't expect our dad to be such a person. He even raised his illegitimate daughter to this age. What nonsense are you two talking about? At this moment, a middle-aged man with a dignified bearing walked out of the inner courtyard. This is Qingxue. She's the disciple that your Uncle Shi Feng took in the North Ice region. Uncle City Governor. The little girl called out affectionately. Dad. Zhao Qingkai called out as well. The person who came was none other than the city governor of Hidden Sky City, Zhao Xuanxiong. Ha 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 ha. Is it Qingyi and Qingkai who have returned? At the same time, a hearty laughter came from inside the house. Then a benevolent old man walked out. Uncle Shifeng, Zhao Qingyi, and Zhao Qingcai's eyes lit up. Uncle Shifeng, you're still here? Zhao Qingkai said with a smile. I want to leave. Your dad won't let me leave if he insists. What can I do? My dad must be relying on you to teach him the talisman technique, right? His talent is terrible, and he doesn't know how to learn anything. No. I don't need to teach him anymore. Shi Fengzi narrowed his eyes and stroked his beard. He said proudly, My disciple will teach him now. After he finished speaking, Shi Fengzi waved at the little girl. Qingxue, these two are City Lord Zhao's son and daughter. It's your first time meeting them. Qingxue greets big brother and big sister. The little girl called out obediently. Zhao Qingyi and Zhao Qingkai looked at each other. So he's really your disciple? What, didn't Chu Hen tell you? Shi Fengzi asked. Chu Hen was also aware of this matter. Back then, in order to help Long Xuan raise the limit of her bloodline, Chu Hen had sought out Shi Fengzi to accompany him to the North River Ice region. Afterwards, he brought Qing Xue, who was alone, back. Qing Xue was the protector of the North River Ice Domain. To be honest, she was a descendant of the Ice Emperor's clan. Zhao Qingyi and Zhao Qingkai both shook their heads. This indicated that Chu Hen had never mentioned this matter. However, back then, when Chu Hen returned from the North River Ice region, he was just in time for the martial sect war, and then the Holy War. With so many things happening at the same time, Chu Hen had forgotten about this matter. Are you talking about Big Brother Chu Hen? Where is he? Qing Xue asked softly. That's right. Where is little brother Chu Hen? City Lord Zhao Xuanxiong also asked. I have to congratulate him for obtaining the first place on the honor list. Old brother Shifeng, and I couldn't believe that this was true these past few days. Zhao Xuanxiong was slightly emotional. Although he had always felt that Chu Hen was not an ordinary person, he did not even dare to think that he would one day lead the martial sect to the top of the honor list. Chu Hen has gone to Qingshu Plain. Zhao Qingkai seemed to be a little disappointed as he replied. Oh, what's he going there for? Shifeng Zi asked. I think he's looking for one of his mentors. Mu Feng, Xiao Xiaowan, and the others have also gone there. The news of the Dark Empress's divine winged serpent and the six-winged ancestral butterfly appearing in the Holy War had already reached their ears. Shifeng Zi was not particularly surprised by this. Back then, they had left the victorious East State together. Later on, Mu Feng and Haozi had gone to the Demon region, while Han Ichuan and Xiao Xiaowan had stayed in the Country Mountain Range. Meanwhile, Shifeng Zi was also living in this hidden sky city. Great! They've all gathered together again. Shifeng Zi said in relief. Dad, I've also made it to the honor list. Shouldn't you be proud of me? Zhao Qingkai smiled with a little pride. Zhao Xuanxiong's face was full of disdain. What are you bragging about? I already looked through the honor list over 10 times, but I still haven't found your names. Don't try to trick me. It's true. Zhao Qingkai jumped in front of him and said seriously, the honor list is about to be refreshed again. This time, my name is really on it. I'm ranked 49th. If you don't believe me, you can ask Big Brother. With that, Zhao Qingkai hurriedly pulled Zhao Qingyi over. Qingyi, is what she said true? Zhao Qingyi smiled and shook her head. It's indeed true. What happened? Reporting to father, it's like this. Just yesterday, Profound Yang Palace's He Yin and Heavenly Gathering Pavilion's Yang Su were removed from the honor list. Therefore, there were 2 empty spots, and one of them was taken by us. Zhao Xuanxiong was stunned. Speaking of which, the Profound Yang Palace and Heavenly Gathering Pavilion's encounters during the Holy War were somewhat unexpected. The War God Palace and the Thunder Saint clan were almost completely annihilated. The sects that had allied together were also unable to escape from the martial sect's counterattack. In the beginning, the Profound Yang Palace and Heavenly Gathering Pavilion had planned to take advantage of that opportunity to make use of their relationship with the War God Palace. In the end, because of the Han Yun sect's interference in Izhou, they had instead saved their lives. Izhou had blocked the 2 sects outside the battlefield. Thus, they had avoided a calamity. Otherwise, the 2 sects would have been completely massacred on the High Firmament Sacred Battle platform. This time, He Yin and Yang Su had chosen to withdraw from the honor list because they had been scared out of their wits by Chu Hen. The reason for this was most likely because they were afraid that the martial sect would find an opportunity to take revenge in the future. For now, they had to retreat. The ranking of the honor list was difficult to begin with. After only a few battles, even the geniuses on the honor list had lost their lives in the Chaos Demon domain. Just Chu Hen alone had killed Lu Minghong, Qin Shui, Lei Yuan, Sidu Xiao, Li Xiong, Qi Si, Yuan Chen Lu, Lei Zhen, and Mang Yuantu. With his own strength, he had slaughtered 1/5 of the people on the honor list. Just the thought of it was terrifying. It was also because of Chu Hen's inhuman actions that there was an unprecedented vacancy on the honor list. Since there was a vacancy, it naturally needed someone to fill it. Of course, if one were to judge based on individual strength, with Zhao Qingcai's cultivation base, it was not enough to occupy a spot on the honor list. However, considering this point, the tree soul holy body of the siblings could borrow each other's strength. In other words, one person could use the strength of two people. Based on this, they had the qualifications to enter the honor list. Therefore, in the latest issue of the honor list, the Zhao siblings were ranked 49th together due to the special boundary of their bloodlines. After listening to the narration of the two, Zhao Xuanxiong was very surprised. That's possible? This is truly unprecedented in history. There's no other way. I heard that this year's rankings stumped many people. Chu Hen is just too cruel, so we naturally benefited from it. Zhao Qingkai did not mind such a ranking at all. After all, he was already very satisfied to be able to enter the honor list. Ha ha ha, all right. No matter what, you two have made me proud. From today onwards, Hidden Sky City will hold a banquet for 3 days and 3 nights to celebrate. How can 3 days be enough? No matter what, it'll take at least 7 days, right? Shifeng Zi also teased. That's right. Uncle West Wind is too right. You still have to include Chu Hen and the others. Then we might as well hold it for a month. The weather changed, and the 9 provinces fell into chaos. For the Midland, this year was obviously an eventful year. The honor list welcomed an unprecedented reshuffle. Naturally, some people were happy and some were worried. War God Palace. The majestic palaces and buildings were especially imposing and peerless. Numerous towering buildings stood under the starry river, on top of all the mountains. Darkness descended. It was like the claws of nightmares, extending to every corner of the world. Before the start of the Holy War, anyone who mentioned the 3 words War God Palace would first think of this enormous monster. No one could shake its domineering position in the Midland. The 5 war gods ruled the honor list. They explained what it meant to be a monstrous genius. Now, the War God Palace, which was supposed to be the center of attention, inevitably seemed a bit desolate and cold. In a dark hall, a cold and solemn atmosphere pervaded the hall, and the dense light revealed a trace of coldness in the darkness. The 5 Saint Kings on the honor list. Now, all of them had been removed from a list. Nearly 1,000 genius disciples of the War God Palace had not returned. This was a humiliation, an unprecedented humiliation. Drip. In the darkness, there seemed to be a clear sound of water dripping. At this moment, a figure sitting on a stone chair at the top of the hall suddenly opened his cold and gloomy eyes. His swaying blood-red eyes were filled with a strong, murderous aura. Then he smiled, and his smile was especially weird. Martial Ancestor should be happy enough. Next, they will shed tears of blood. The atmosphere in the hall immediately became a bit restless. I will let the world know that this kind of attack can't even hurt a hair of our War God Palace. I will make all of them pay an unbearable price. But, according to the rules of the Holy War, we can't take revenge. Someone in the hall responded. Rules? Rules are always made by powerful ones. When a martial ancestor is slaughtered, who dares to mention rules in front of me? All of a sudden, the temperature in the hall dropped sharply. The endless darkness spread towards the Midland like a devil's hand that had been continuously extending towards the Midland. The stars were dim. The storm was surging. The chaos in the Midland didn't seem to be over. Instead, it seemed to be just the beginning. Chapter 1464. Qingshu Plain. The boundless Qianma plain crisscrossed like a holy land that had been run over by the wheels of time for billions of years. Large and small rivers were winding and rugged, and the scenic valleys were like natural moats that traversed the earth. They were magnificent and eye-catching. In the depths of the mountains, lush mountains and snowy peaks coexisted. There was a sharp contrast between the two completely different climates. It gave people a particularly peculiar sense of affinity with nature. So this is the Qingshu Plain. It's really a paradise. At the top of Mountain Ridge, Chu Hen, Mu Feng, and the others finally arrived at the Qingshu Plain after traveling for more than 20 days. This was a highland area with a relatively high terrain. The sky was azure and clear, as if there wasn't a speck of dust. The rivers and deep pools in the valleys were also incomparably clear, reflecting the sky. It was as if the entire world had been turned upside down. I like this place so much. Xiao Xiaowan's eyes were full of excitement as she said with joy. The ancestral butterfly clan had a strong affinity with nature, and their clansmen had very harsh requirements for living conditions. The beautiful scenery of the Qingshu Plain was not inferior to that of the Kunchi mountain range. In some aspects, it was even superior to Xiao Xiaowan's clan. There are many people living here, Long Xuan said. Everyone nodded in response. From a distance, they could vaguely see an ancient city isolated from the rest of the world in the depths of the beautiful mountains. The warm morning sun shone over the ancient city at an angle, and when it met the cool breeze of the mountain stream, it gave people a wonderful feeling of relaxation and relaxation. However, the Qingshu Plain covered a very large area. Moreover, there were many ancient cities of various sizes inside. There were also some tribes that had lived here for a long time and had never left this ancient land for generations. If you wanted to find someone here, it would take a lot of time. The Qingshu Plain is much larger than I imagined. I wonder if Teacher Xilan is still here. How's he said with some uncertainty. The others also looked puzzled. After all, Huang Fuqing had said that he had seen Xilan 2 years ago. However, since he was already here, regardless of whether he was here or not, he needed to verify it. Let's split up. That would be faster. Howzy suggested. Separate? But Han Ichuan and I have never seen Minor Xilan. Xiao Xiaowan replied. It's easy to recognize her. She's a super beautiful woman. Mu Foam exclaimed. The most recognizable thing is that Mentor Xilan's hair is purple. Purple hair? Xiao Xiaowan and Han Ichuan looked at each other in surprise. Wow, I really want to meet this mentor, Xiao Xiaowan said. Forget it. With your short legs standing next to her, no one would notice you at all. Mu Feng took the opportunity to tease him. Get lost. If you say that I have short legs again, I will break your legs. All right. Let's hurry up and find her. Yi Yao looked at the restless Chu Hen and immediately stopped them. Along the way, Chu Hen did not speak much. He had been worried about whether he could find Xilan. What kind of situation did she leave the Eastern Territory in, and how she was doing now? These were the reasons that troubled Chu Hen. It was fine if Xilan was here, but if she was not here, it would be even more difficult to find her in the future. Let's go, Chu Hen said in a low voice. Then his figure flashed, and he leapt out first. Noni, let's go. Yi Yao followed. Then, the others also rushed toward the vast green plain in front of them. Swoosh, 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 at the fork in the road ahead, everyone chose a direction and moved separately. There were too many ancient cities in Green Plain, so this was the most effective method. Whoosh! Chu Hen walked toward the deep plain in front of him. He looked down from a high vantage point. The villages and small cities were distributed among the ravines, valleys, and streams. They were like stars that had fallen into the mortal world. When Chu Hen arrived at the first ancient city, the residents on the streets of the city all looked at him in astonishment. A few of them had a vigilant expression on their faces. However, most of them had a friendly expression on their faces. Guess from the outside, I wonder what brings you to my Ming city. A white-haired old man walked towards Chu Hen with a walking stick. I'm looking for someone. Chu Hen cupped his fists slightly and replied politely. Oh, may I know who you're looking for? I've lived here for almost 90 years, and I know almost everyone in the city. Chu Hen's eyes lit up, and then he replied, her name is Xilan. She came here about 2 years ago. The old man had a puzzled expression on his face. He glanced at the crowd around him before he looked at Chu Hen again. We don't have anyone with this name here. Are you sure she came to our Ming city? Chu Hen shook his head. I only know she came to Green Plain. Then I think you'll have to ask elsewhere. Green Plain has 76 cities, 180 towns, and 300 to 400 villages of various sizes. Is Green Plain so big? Chu Hen was slightly disappointed. That's right. Perhaps you can go to Man City and ask. That's the largest city in Green Plain. The old man raised his cane and pointed in a direction for Chu Hen. However, you have to be careful. The guards in Man City don't really welcome outsiders. Thank you, uncle. Chu Hen nodded gratefully. As soon as he finished speaking, a whirlwind of dust rose from the ground. With a whoosh, Chu Hen disappeared from where he stood. Everyone in the room was taken aback. Where'd he go? Did I see a ghost in broad daylight? Man's City. The ancient city built of rocks gave people the aura of an ancient temple that had existed for a long time. Just as the old man had said, Man's City was the largest city in Green Plain. Indeed, the tower of Man's City was very tall, and its grandeur even surpassed the imperial capital of some dynasties in the outside world. The atmosphere in the city was still very lively. There were authentic tea houses, taverns, shops, and everything else. On both sides of the street, there were many precious beast furs for sale. There were also some beautiful jewelry carved from beast bones. The people living in Qingshu Plain were all self-sufficient, and Barbarian City was the largest trading center for the floating population. Walking on the street of Man's City, Chu Hen, who was a foreigner, was particularly conspicuous. The people coming and going cast curious glances at him. Before Chu Hen could ask the locals, the crowd in front of him suddenly parted. Accompanied by heavy footsteps, more than a dozen heavily armored guards with spears in their hands blocked Chu Hen's path. Where did this barbarian come from? How dare he trespass into Man's City? The leader was a 2-meter-tall man. He glared at Chu Hen with his eyes wide open, as if he was a strong bull. Barbarian? Chu Hen touched his nose, somewhat speechless. In comparison, the other party was the barbarian, right? I'm looking for someone. Looking for someone? The burly man glanced at Chu Hen disdainfully. There's no one you're looking for here. Leave before we get angry. Get lost. Foreigners are all good things. It's really a Man's City with a group of barbarians living here. Chu Hen said sarcastically. What did you say? Today I'll tear your tongue. After saying that, the burly man directly swung his thick palm toward Chu Hen's head. A strong airflow rushed toward Chu Hen. The surrounding people secretly felt sorry for Chu Hen. If this slap landed, the other party's face would probably split. Bang! A muffled sound was followed by a pig-like howl. Everyone was shocked. They saw that Chu Hen was still standing in the same place, but the burly man's palm was swollen. Is that all you've got? Not even as strong as a kid's. Chu Hen said with a smile. You. The burly man was furious. He covered his palm and shouted, Take him down. Quick, take him down. The group of heavily armored guard behind him did not say anything and raised the sharp spears in their hands to stab at Chu Hen. However, Chu Hen still did not move in the slightest. His eyes focused, and a formless air wave spread out in all directions. Boom! With the overlapping muffled explosion, all the guards felt their arms go numb. Before they could react, all the spears that were stabbing at Chu Hen were shattered into powder. Wow! Is this sorcery? The onlookers were shocked. The guards of Man's City were also scared out of their wits. Everyone finally understood that this seemingly weak outsider was actually someone they could not afford to offend. My lord, please spare my life. The burly man immediately became an obedient sheep. The corner of Chu Hen's mouth curled up into a playful smile. He walked closer to the man and said with a smile, Find me someone. If you can't find him, I'll kill you. Hearing his deep voice, the man was so scared that he immediately fell to the ground. His head nodded like a chick pecking rice. Yes. May I know who my lord is looking for? I'll go and report to the city lord and ask him to mobilize all the guards in the city to help you find the person. Chu Hen chuckled. Bring me to your city lord. About half an hour later, Man's City, City Lord Mansion. I'm Man Xiong. My subordinate has offended my lord. Please forgive him. After understanding the cause and effect of the matter, a man in his 50s with a rather tall stature courteously welcomed Chu Hen into the hall. Chu Hen raised his hand slightly and said indifferently, It's fine. May I know who my lord is looking for in Qinggu Plain? Immediately, Chu Hen briefly described Shilan's appearance and situation. City Lord Man Xiong did not dare to be negligent and immediately ordered, My lord, please rest here for a while. I'll send someone to search for you. Chapter 1465. 1 second to remember. Wonderful pop-up window, free reading. Man's City. The previously peaceful city had become restless because of a certain someone's arrival. In the main hall of the city lord's mansion, Chu Hen was sitting on a wide chair with his fingertips lightly tapping on the armrest. He looked at the ground and seemed to be thinking about something. Beside him was a cup of steaming hot tea. Even though Chu Hen did not take a single bite, every 15 minutes or so, there would be someone who would replace it with fresher hot tea and snacks. Now, it was already the 11th cup. Almost 3 hours had passed. At this moment, the city lord, Man Xiong, walked in. His tall figure showed a hint of humility. "My lord, I've already sent people to search for her. I'll inform you if there's any news. Why don't I prepare a guest room for you to rest in?" Looking at Man Xiong's slightly anxious face, Chu Hen raised his eyelids and said indifferently, "No need. I'll wait here." "Yes." Man Xiong nodded respectfully. "Do you have anything else?" No. Man Xiong avoided Chu Hen's gaze and asked, "May I know where you're from?" Chu Hen didn't answer. At the same time, he could guess what Man Xiong was thinking. In the past 3 hours, Man Xiong had actually come many times. However, he always hesitated outside the door. Qing Shu was originally aloof from worldly affairs and was practically isolated from the outside world. As the city lord, Man Xiong was most likely the strongest person here. Chu Hen saw through Man Xiong's cultivation with a glance. Profound Sky Realm. This realm was only the level of a mid-level disciple in the martial ancestor realm. Moreover, Man Xiong was already over 50 years old. It would be difficult for him to break through in his lifetime. But seeing that Chu Hen didn't really want to talk to him, Man Xiong smiled awkwardly. "I won't disturb my lord's rest." After saying that, he turned around and left. But at this moment, a series of hurried footsteps came from outside the door. Then, 2 Man Xiong's guards entered the room. "City Lord, there's news." Man Xiong's eyes lit up. Chu Hen stood up from his chair. His dignified appearance exuded a sense of expectation. "Where is she?" "Sir, this child said that the person you are looking for is very similar to someone she knows." A guard turned sideways and pointed at a skinny figure behind him. She was a girl about 10 years old. Her skin was a little dark, but her eyes were bright and clear. Obviously, she was a little flustered at the moment. Chu Hen stared at him in confusion and asked in a deep voice, "You've seen her before?" The girl pursed her lips and nodded in fear. "What does she look like?" Chu Hen continued to ask. "Very, very beautiful, like a fairy, and purple hair." The other replied timidly. Chu Hen was overjoyed. "Yes, it was her." "Where is she?" "The Daocheng." Chu Hen was stunned. "What kind of place was that?" Man Xiong replied, "Dao City is the innermost ancient city of Qingshu Plain, and its north is connected to the snowy peaks of Heavenly Mountain. The residents of Dao City rarely come out, and they only come to our Man City to exchange for supplies. I'll send someone to Dao City right away to invite that lord over." "No need. I'll go myself." Chu Hen directly refused, and then he asked the girl, "You know how to go to Dao City, right?" The girl nodded. "My grandmother is from Dao City." "Very good. We'll leave right away." Man Xiong was at a loss when he heard that Chu Hen was about to leave, and he stammered, "Lord, it's getting late. Why don't you come back tomorrow? Take this as a token of my gratitude." Before Man Xiong could finish speaking, Chu Hen flipped his hand and passed a wooden box to him. "This is?" Man Xiong was stunned. "Something that can help you break through to the ancient realm." As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Hen placed the wooden box in Man Xiong's hand, and he didn't wait for Man Xiong to say anything before he took the girl's hand and left the hall. Man Xiong opened the wooden box with trembling hands. Whoosh! Along with the intense fluctuation of space, a pill that glowed with a crimson light entered his eyes. Dense blood red steam revolved around it, and it didn't allow the pill's spirit energy to leak out in the slightest. Man Xiong's eyes were wide open, and his face was filled with disbelief. This is the legendary supreme, sacred, explosive blood pill. He was so excited that his hands were trembling. This was a top-grade treasure that even Saint King realm powerhouses could use. Ancient realm. It was a piece of cake. "Thank you for your kindness, Lord. If you have any requests in the future, I, Man Xiong, will definitely risk my life." At this moment, Chu Hen and the girl had already arrived outside the city gates. Tao City is very far from here. We'll have to ride the eagle carriage for an entire day to get there. The girl blinked her big eyes as she left the city lord's mansion. She didn't seem so afraid. After all, compared to those tall and mighty boorish men, Chu Hen's handsome appearance was more harmless. Eagle carriage? Chu Hen was slightly surprised. Yes, we have a very large snow eagle here. It can carry us in the sky, and it's extremely fast. Otherwise, it would take us many days to get there on foot. Chu Hen was amused. He put his arm around the girl's shoulder and pulled her into his arm. Then he asked, "Which direction is Tao City?" "There." The girl raised her hand and pointed in a direction. "Are you sure?" "Yes, I often go to my grandmother's house." "All right, let's set off now." Tao City. This was a very beautiful mountain city. Outside the city, there were many paths, and the golden fields were as magnificent as a golden ocean. The mountain flowers were everywhere, and the cows and sheep were singing. In the depths of the mountain range, the white snowy peak was like a sacred and inviolable mountain. In just the time it took to drink a cup of tea, when Chu Hen landed on the ground, the girl beside him was almost scared silly. This is Tao City. She was so dazed that she couldn't distinguish reality from reality. "I'm asking you, is this Tao City?" Chu Hen asked. She looked at Chu Hen blankly. "Big brother, are you a god? That's why you came to find Fairy Sister, right?" Chu Hen didn't find it funny and rubbed her head. "Then you have to tell me where Fairy Sister is." "Under the snowy mountain over there. Fairy Sister treats people there every day. Grandma's legs have always been weak, and it was Fairy Sister who cured them." Chu Hen was a little surprised. At the same time, he felt a sense of urgency. "Got it, thank you. You should quickly go and find your grandmother. If you have any problems in Man City in the future, look for Man Xiong. He will help you." "Yes, Governor Man Xiong is usually very fierce, but I can see that he seems to be very afraid of you." Chu Hen smiled and patted the girl's shoulder. "Go. Okay, goodbye, big brother." After that, the little girl ran into Daocheng with ease. Meanwhile, Chu Hen's eyes gradually became deep. He looked at the snowy mountain peak with a look of expectation in his eyes. After a while, Chu Hen appeared on a mountain range under the snowy mountain that the girl mentioned. On the mountain, the flowers were like brocade. At the foot of the mountain, the valley formed a river. Outside the city, the golden rice field. Within the city, the ancient temple was very old. Here, the refreshing mountain breeze and the warm light of the ancient city could be felt. Walking along a winding mountain road, it didn't take long before a courtyard slowly came into view. The courtyard wasn't big, but it was very elegant. There was an exquisite house built inside, and there were bonsai plants in the courtyard. It had a simple elegance and freshness to it. At this moment, there were 7 to 8 people queuing outside the courtyard. There were also people walking out from inside. As expected of City Lord Shi, her medical skills are superb. "My hand doesn't hurt at all. Old 7, why are you here? I went hunting in the mountain during the day and got bitten by a leopard. I thought that my hand was going to be crippled, but I didn't expect City Lord Shi to treat it so quickly. Look, I couldn't even move before, but now I'm fine. Ha ha ha. It's all thanks to City Lord Shi. She solved so many problems for Tao City these 2 years. Yes, City Lord Shi is beautiful and kind. She's definitely a lucky star that the heavens sent to us." Listening to their conversation, Chu Hen walked steadily into the fenced courtyard. At the very front of the queue, on the inner side of a long table, there was a beautiful and elegant figure sitting on a wooden chair. She did not have a trace of worldly air. In front of her sat a 7 to 8-year-old boy. The boy looked listless, his eyes were red, and it was obvious that he wasn't feeling well. "City Lord Shi, how is my air go?" Beside the boy was a woman who wasn't even 30 years old. Her face was filled with anxiety. She removed her white fingers from the boy's wrist, and the smile on her face was like cherry blossoms in a snowy day. She was beautiful and made one's heart flutter. "He's fine, he just ate something bad. When we get back, boil this in hot water and let him drink it." As she said that, she took a wrapped medicinal ingredient from the table beside her and passed it to her. The woman heaved a sigh of relief and thanked her. "Thank you, City Lord Shi. Thank you, City Lord Shi," the boy said in a childish voice. Thank you, City Lordship's sister. Tom didn't leave any mark on her body at all. She was exactly the same as when she was in the Saint Star dynasty. Her eyes were like limpid autumn waters, her skin was as white as snow, and her unique purple hair made her look like an elf that had been forgotten in the human world. Looking at the side of her beautiful and moving face, Chu Hen's eyes faintly reddened. Teacher and friend. The person who took care of him like an elder sister had finally appeared in front of him. And at this moment, Shilon seemed to feel a pair of burning eyes looking at her. She subconsciously looked over. In an instant, the two pairs of eyes that hadn't met for a long time clashed. Like a broken bubble, it caused ripples in her heart. Shilan's face couldn't help but change. Shock and disbelief. Then, there was unconcealable joy. Chapter 1466. Shock, surprise, disbelief, and great joy appeared on Shilan's beautiful face. The moment their eyes met, it was as though time had stopped. Everything around them seemed to have been forgotten. City Lord Shi, can you take a look at my shoulder? It's starting to hurt again these few days. An old woman's voice broke their eye contact. Oh, okay. Shilon hurriedly came back to her senses. She gestured for the old woman to sit down, but she couldn't help but look at Chu Hen. Chu Hen smiled and pointed at his feet. He told her to get busy and that he would wait for her here. Shilon nodded and started to treat the old woman's shoulder. After not seeing each other for so many years, the two of them were so close. Looking at the patients in the queue, Chu Hen didn't disturb them immediately. He casually found a seat in the courtyard and sat down, looking at Shilon quietly. Time passed by minute. The patients in the queue were getting lesser and lesser. The sun gradually moved towards the west, and the fiery sunset clouds and the white snowy peak formed a particularly beautiful and spectacular scene. Thank you, City Lord Shi. My old waist is much more relaxed now. The last patient was an old man in his 80s. She thanked him gratefully. Then, she said, City Lord, she must be in a good mood today. What? Shilon looked at him in confusion. I saw you smiling the entire afternoon. It should be someone important, right? The old man smiled kindly. Shilon smiled, but didn't know how to reply. She looked at Chu Hen, who had been waiting for her the entire afternoon, then nodded at the old man. Seems like it's someone important. City Lord Shi, you're a good person. The heavens will bless you. Then, the old man held onto his walking stick and left the courtyard with a kind smile. Seeing that everyone had left, Chu Hen stood up and walked forward. Shilon also left her seat and walked towards him. You haven't changed at all, Chu Hen said. Shilan's eyes seemed to be filled with a vast sea of stars as she looked at the young man before her, who was no longer immature and was now exuding an imposing aura. Her jade-like hand gently brushed past Chu Hen's handsome face as she sighed with emotion. You've grown up, and you've grown taller. Chu Hen lowered his head slightly. As he listened to the other party's gentle and caring words, a trace of warmth surged in his heart. However, there were also many doubts. Minter, why are you here? Back then, I searched everywhere for you in the Eastern Victory State. Shilon tilted her head slightly to avoid Chu Hen's gaze. She shook her head and tugged at Chu Hen's wrist, saying, Don't just stand there. Come sit here. As he spoke, he poured a cup of hot tea from inside the house. These are tea leaves that can only be found in Daochen. Quick, give it a try. Shilan's eyes were shining with tenderness. She looked gentle and charming against the setting sun. How did you find your way here? Don't tell me you've already seen Princess Huangfu? Yes. Chu Hen took a sip of the tea that emitted a refreshing fragrance. If she didn't tell me, I really wouldn't know where to find you. I'm sorry to have troubled you, Shilon said apologetically. Don't say that. Chu Hen shook his head. Back then, when I left the Eastern Victory State and came to the Midland, I didn't even have the chance to say goodbye to you. Fortunately, you're here. All these years, you must have suffered a lot, right? Shilon said softly. From Chu Hen's body, she could see that he was different from before. Whether it was the aura he emitted or the temperament he emitted, it was as if he had experienced countless vicissitudes of life. Nope, it's pretty good, Chu Hen said with a smile. Quick, tell me what happened all these years. Then the two of them sat side by side and chatted for a long time. Chu Hin narrated everything that had happened after the two of them had separated in the Sacred Star Dynasty. Shilan listened to him very seriously, especially when she heard about some dangerous situations. She couldn't help but frown and look nervous. Of course, towards some dangerous scenes, Chu Hin only brushed over them. He didn't say it in detail. Even so, Shilan couldn't help but feel sorry for what he had gone through all these years. I didn't expect you to encounter so many things. Shilan clasped her fingers together and sighed softly. She raised her beautiful eyes and said, "Fortunately, you're still well." Chu Hin smiled. "What about you, teacher? I seem to have heard others call you Castellan. Did you come back here to inherit the position of Castellan?" Shilan was amused. "What do you mean, inherit the position of Castellan? Aren't we from the same place? That's why I find it strange. It's like this. Not long after you went to Mount Kunliu, news of the opening of the ancient Desolation Heaven came from the East Victory State. After that, Shilan roughly described what had happened in the past few days. After they separated in the Sacred Star Dynasty. As the new sect master, Chu Hin followed Qin, Qi, Shu, and Hua to Mount Kunliu, while Shilan stayed in the Thousand Cranes sect. Not long after, the ancient Desolation Heaven opened. In order to expand its strength, the Shaozong sect of the East Victory State chose to recruit disciples in the 100-Nation state. Shilan, the Thousand Cranes sect, and many disciples with better natural talent were recruited into the Sky sect. Later on, due to various reasons, Shilan left the Sky sect before heading to the ancient Desolation Heaven, and she didn't go there. After leaving the Sky sect, Shilan didn't know where to go. She'd wanted to return to the Thousand Cranes sect. However, in the end, he had been drifting aimlessly, and at last, he accidentally came to the Midland. At that time, I didn't know where to go. I just kept walking until I didn't even know where I was. Later on, I accidentally came to Tao City. I fell in love with this place at first sight, so I decided to stay here for a while. I didn't expect that I would stay here for 2 years. Qingsu was originally a paradise. As for Daocheng, it was a paradise in the middle of the world. Here, she was accompanied by the sunrise and sunset every day. Although she was lonely, her heart was at peace. When Shilan first came here, she was shocked by the people of Tao City. With her extraordinary medical skills, Shilan was gradually respected by the people of Tao City. Later on, she was elected as the city lord by the people of Tao City. Tao City isn't big, and the population isn't big. However, the people living here are all simple and kind. I like this place very much. Looking at the clouds in the evening, Shilan spoke in a soft voice. Before they knew it, the sky had turned dark. The two of them chatted until nightfall. At the foot of the mountain, bonfires had already been lit. After dinner, the people gathered around the bonfires, beating drums, playing flutes, singing, and dancing. "Why didn't you go to Mount Kunliu to find me?" Chu Hin asked. Shilan slightly pursed her red lips and slightly lowered her head. The singing at the foot of the mountain was getting clearer and clearer. Shilan then said, "Do you want to watch me dance?" "Yeah." Chu Hin was surprised. "I've been here for 2 years. Every night, the people of Tao City would dance around the bonfires. I've learned a little." Chu Hin smiled and touched his nose, then nodded. "Sure, I'm not good at dancing. Don't laugh at me." "I won't." After that, Shilan stood up and walked to the front. She paused for a while, then started to dance along with the drumming and flute sounds coming from the foot of the mountain. The stars in the sky were like diamonds dotting the sky. Under the bright moon, Shilan's dance was as agile as a butterfly, like a fairy under the moonlight. Chu Hin watched quietly with a smile in his eyes. Gradually, Chu Hin didn't seem to pay attention to the music at the foot of the mountain. In his eyes, there was only the graceful figure dancing under the moonlight. He didn't know if Shilan's dancing was good or not, but something seemed to melt in his heart, round after round, touching his heartstrings. Shilan tiptoed on the ground and looked back with a faint smile. It was like the mountain breeze passing through the study, like the light of the ancient city spilling into the windowsill. At this moment, Chu Hin was indescribably drunk. All of a sudden, Shilan's feet stepped on a pebble. The stone wasn't big, but the edge of the edge was pointing up. Shilan, who didn't notice it, suddenly felt her foot slip, and then her whole body tilted down. "Be careful." Chu Hen was shocked. Without saying anything, he instantly disappeared into the distance. Wow! With a slight tremor, Shilon only felt a strong arm around her back, and then a warm aura enveloped her. Under the beautiful night sky, Shilon gently lay on the crook of Chu Hen's arm. Their gazes met at a close distance. In their eyes, there were not stars, nor was there a vast ocean. There was only each other's faces. Everything around them seemed to have fallen into silence. Time and space seemed to have stopped moving. They could even feel each other's breathing and heartbeat. Chapter 1467. The stars dotted the sky, and the moon shone like a mirror. The snow-capped peak in the distance was like a god that connected the nine heavens galaxy. Under the dreamy night scenery, in front of the house, in the courtyard, Shilon leaned on Chu Hen's arm. Their faces were very close, and they could clearly feel each other's breathing. The faint fragrance of Shilan's body invaded Chu Hen's nose. His eyes, which were looking at her, seemed to be shining like the stars. Clear eyes like autumn water, a delicate and tall nose, and those small and charming cherry lips. Looking at the breathtakingly beautiful face in front of him, Chu Hen was a little dazed. He could only murmur, "Teacher, be careful." Shilan's jade-like fingers lightly clasped her sleeves, and her red lips opened slightly. "I just slipped, I won't fall." No matter what, Shilan had a certain level of cultivation, and a small stone was not enough to trip her. "City Lord." At this moment, a clear voice suddenly came from outside the courtyard. It was like a stone that broke the dreamy atmosphere. The splashing waves broke the ripples. Chu Hen was shocked, as if he had just woken up from a dream. He hurriedly helped Shilan stand up and then let go of her shoulder. Shilan also seemed to be at a loss, and her cheeks were slightly red as she subconsciously turned to the side. "City Lord, someone is looking for you." At this moment, a delicate girl who looked to be 15 or 16 years old walked into the courtyard with a basket on her back. When she saw Chu Hen standing together with Shilan, she could not help but be stunned. "This is my former student in the East region," Shilan hurriedly introduced, and then said to Chu Hen, "This is Ying, a disciple who is learning medicine from me. She went out to pick herbs today, so she won't be here in the afternoon." Chu Hen nodded. At the same time, a messy sound of footsteps came from behind Ying, and it was accompanied by a familiar voice. "After searching for a day, I finally found it. It must be Minter Shilan. Otherwise, our efforts will be in vain." I don't know where Chu Hen ran off to. He didn't leave us any signal either. As he spoke, Mu Feng, Haozi, Long Xuan Shuang, and Yao walked to the entrance of the courtyard. F*CK, you're here? Boss. Mu Feng was immediately shocked by Chu Hen who was in front of him. Minter Shilan, Haozi, and Yao's eyes also lit up as they exclaimed excitedly. Seeing so many familiar faces, Shilan was also surprised. "You guys are here too," Chu Hen then explained. "Yes, they came with me. I didn't have time to tell you." TSK. Minter Shilan is still so beautiful. You haven't changed at all. Mu Feng walked forward and greeted her. She is indeed a great beauty. No wonder Chu Hen didn't even return to the sect and came here first. Qiao Shaowan could not help but praise. How is it? Short legs. Do you feel ashamed now?" Mu Feng said proudly. "TSK. No one will think you're mute if you don't speak." Qiao Shaowan rolled her eyes. "These two are?" Shilan saw Qiao Shaowan and Han Ichuan, the two unfamiliar faces. "They're all my friends," Chu Hen said with a slight smile. "I am Han Ichuan." "Greetings, Minter Shilan. I am Qiao Shaowan." Shilan nodded politely. "Hello, I am Shilan." Then, Yao and Long Xuan Shuang also came forward to greet them. Ying was a little surprised. There had not been so many guests in Daocheng for a long time. "You guys haven't had dinner yet, right? Stay in the city tonight." "Dinner?" A few of them looked at each other and smiled. With their cultivation, they did not need any food. However, since they were so happy today, they could drink a few more glasses of wine. "Governor, you won't be staying here today, right? You can go to the city with us." Ying turned to Shilan and said, Although Xilan was regarded as the governor by the villagers of Daocheng, she had never regarded herself as the governor of the city. For the past 2 years, she had been living here. She hesitated for a moment and glanced at Chu Hen before she nodded at the others. Okay, all right, I'll get someone to prepare some food and wine. Aang even forgot to put down the wicker basket and ran down the mountain excitedly. This child is quite cute, Mu Feng said with a smile. You beast, you won't even let a little girl go, Xiao Shaowan cursed. The corner of Mu Feng's eyes twitched, and he replied, You're crazy. He then asked Xilan curiously, Minter Xilan, I heard from Aang that you've been practicing medicine here. Yes, when I was in the Thousand Crane sect, I was mostly carrying out medical support missions. So that's how it is. It was really not easy to find you. Mu Feng looked at Chu Hen with a deep meaning in his eyes as he said. After that, everyone chatted as they walked down the mountain toward the city. Although it was the most remote ancient temple in Qingshu Plain, the residents of Daocheng were very hospitable. They were even more enthusiastic when they heard that Daocheng was Xilan's friend. All kinds of delicacies that they were usually reluctant to take out were served on the big table in the courtyard. Even the fine wine brewed in their house had a strong fragrance that had never been seen in the outside world. After 3 rounds of wine, the table was filled with laughter that had not been heard for a long time. Under the warmth of Daocheng's mellow wine, everyone felt a little tipsy, which was a rare sight. The people who had been traveling for many days fell asleep under the influence of the wine. However, in this foreign land where the birds chirped and the mountains were quiet, there were 2 people who could not sleep for the entire night. The governor's mansion was not big. Their attire was not luxurious. However, it was antique. The moon rose above the branches, and the silvery moonlight shone on the waterside pavilion under the rockery. In the pavilion, Xilan, who was dressed in a white evening dress, leaned against the railing of the bench. Her soft purple hair reached her waist, and her eyes were misty and indescribably enchanting. Teacher, be careful. The scene that had happened just now appeared in her mind. The sudden appearance, the moment their eyes met, and the tip of their noses almost touched. All of these were mercilessly disturbing her dreams. At the same time, Chu Hen stood in front of the open window in the side room with his hands behind his back. He was quietly looking at the shadow of the railing outside the window. No one knew what he was thinking. No one knew what had touched his heartstrings. So, he could not fall asleep for a long time in this silent night. I'm afraid I've gone mad, after a long period of silence, Chu Hen muttered in a low voice. Just as Chu Hen closed the window, his eyes couldn't help but tremble. There was a faint fluctuation of energy in the invisible air. This aura is... The corner of his eyes sank slightly. Then a shadow flashed by. The window shook slightly, and Chu Hen immediately disappeared from the room. On the tower of Daocheng, there was no one around. It was quiet. The bright moon accompanied the sky, and the stars were clear and bright. Swoosh, Chu Hen steadily landed here, and his eyes swept across the surroundings of the tower. Then, under the bright moonlight, there stood a slender figure exuding an infinite evil aura. The figure was wearing a purple mink fur coat with a white fox fur collar around his shoulders. His long black hair was as elegant as snow, and his face was handsome and enchanting. Looking at the side of his face, the corners of his eyes were narrow and charming. He was obviously a man, but he had a face that even women would feel ashamed of. There was an innate cold temperament in his body, innate arrogance, and detached aura. Only by seeing him could the world really verify that sentence. The man was like jade, and the man was unparalleled in the world. Chu Hen clenched his fists and murmured softly, The Fox of Green Hill, June, Jianga. Chapter 1468. The Fox of the Green Hills, June Jianga, looking at the demonic, wild, and arrogant figure standing on top of the city wall with a cold aura. The corner of Chu Hen's eyes slightly congealed, and some astonishment surged onto his face. At the same time, Jun Jianga's gaze swept towards Chu Hen, and he nodded slightly as a gesture. Chu Hen unconsciously walked forward and politely nodded his head. Congratulations on reaching the top of the honor list. The speed of your growth is beyond my expectations, Jun Jiang said gently. His voice was calm and composed, without much emotion. Compared to others, he was surprised by the results of this year's honor list battle, but he also felt that it was reasonable. In his opinion, it was only a matter of time before Chu Hen reached the top. No matter how strong Mang Yuantu's holy body of barren wilderness was, it was still no match for the bloodline of the Demon Eye, one of the 10 strongest sacred bodies. Chu Hen smiled. Are you here for Mu Feng? Now, Mu Feng's identity was very different from before. He, who had the bloodline of the Demon Emperor, was definitely a person of great importance to the Demon region. After the end of the Sacred War, he should have returned to the Demon region, but he accompanied Chu Hen here instead. The Demon region must have been worried, so they sent the Fox of the Green Hills. However, Jun Jiang shook his head in denial. I don't listen to the Demon region. Oh, Chu Hen was stunned. You're not here for Mu Feng? After all, Chu Hen could not think of any other reason. I'm just passing by, and I just happened to sense your aura. Passing by? Chu Hen was even more surprised. He could not help but feel that it was a coincidence. Jun Jiang continued. I've always been looking for my clansmen. Chu Hen clenched his fists lightly. He had long heard rumors that the Green Hill clan had been exterminated many years ago. The number of Green Hill foxes was extremely few and far between. In all these years, only Jun Jiang, a Green Hill fox, had appeared in the world. Haven't they already? Chu Hen asked in a deep voice. Jun Jiang nodded, his turquoise eyes gazing at the bright moon hanging in the sky. Behind the bright moon, there seemed to be an illusory cyan fox silhouette flickering. They're all dead. There was a hint of sadness in his voice. Then Jun Jiang turned around to look at Chu Hen and continued. But we, the spirits of the Green Hill, are very special. Even if we perish, the souls of the Green Hill foxes can attach themselves to the reincarnated humans and obtain a new life. What I need to do is to find them and awaken the souls of Qing Qiu within them. Hearing the other party's narration, Chu Hen was very surprised. He didn't expect the Green Hill foxes to possess such mystical powers. What if he doesn't wake up? Chu Hen asked casually. If it's unable to be awakened, then the soul of Qing Qiu that has attached itself to the human will vanish forever and ultimately return to nothingness. The reincarnated spirit of the Green Mountains should have different features from ordinary people, right? It's hard to say. Jun Jiang shook his head slightly. After all, it's a remnant soul that has attached itself to a human, so most of it still looks like a human. He paused, then flipped his palm over, and a kettle-like object appeared in Jun Jiang's hand. Chu Hen lifted his eyelids and focused his attention on it. Inside the kettle-like object, there was actually a fist-sized blue bead. The internal structure of the blue bead was particularly peculiar and beautiful. It was like a beautiful star. Upon closer inspection, the interior of the blue bead seemed to contain a dreamy world, with streaks of white phantoms shuttling back and forth within. The phantoms' forms were like strange foxes. What's inside? Chu Hen frowned slightly. The souls of the Green Hill foxes. Jun Jiang replied. The souls of the Green Hill foxes? Chu Hen was even more astonished. This is the soul guardian jade left behind by the king of the Green Hill clan. All these years, I've collected the souls of my clansmen that have been left behind in the world. One day, when I find the Fox King, I'll be able to resurrect all of my clansmen. Jun Jiang's eyes flashed with hope. This blue soul guard jade carried his mission and hope. At this moment, Chu Hen's heart was filled with deep admiration. This incomparably aloof man in front of him was shouldering such an amazing responsibility. A 1,000-year mission, a long and arduous journey, wandering alone for countless years just to find his clansmen who had been lost outside. Chu Hen saw the noblest temperament in the other party. With you here, the spirits of the Green Hill foxes will not wander forever, Chu Hen said solemnly. Jun Jiang's turquoise eyes seemed to flash with a strange light. Soon after, he hung the soul guardian jade on his waist, making it look like a peculiar wine pot. So, you passed by Qingshu Plain to look for your lost clansmen. I thought you came from Mu Feng, Chu Hen said with a smile. Jun Jiang's eyes turned cold, and he said in a low voice, "Qing Shu Plain, has my clansman, oh." Chu Hen's eyes lit up where Jun Jiang shook his head. "I don't know yet, but the Soul Guardian Jade has reacted, but the reaction is not strong, so I can't determine its location. Do you need our help?" "I will stay in Qingshu Plain for a few days," Chu Hen asked. After all, it was his first day here, so Chu Hen had not asked Shilan's whereabouts. According to Chu Hen's idea, he wanted to bring Shilan back to the martial sect, but it was also possible that Shilan was unwilling to leave, so he planned to see her opinion in a few days. Jun Jiang raised his hand slightly. "No need. Only I can sense the reaction of the Soul Guardian Jade. You can't help me." Chu Hen was not surprised by Jun Jiang's refusal. For so many years, he had been searching for his clansman alone. If he needed help, he would have asked the demon region long ago. Through the conversation between the two of them, their relationship seemed to have become much closer than when they were in the immortal and devil tomb. If it was not for Jun Jiang, he would have died in the demon region. Not only did Chu Hen admire Jun Jiang, but he was also grateful. "I still can't see through your real cultivation base, but you should have surpassed the Saint King stage, right?" Chu Hen said solemnly. Jun Jiang raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at him sideways. The corner of his mouth curled up into a devilish smile. "That's right. I've long entered the Eminent Saint King stage." Eminent Saint King stage. Chu Hen's eyes lit up. Previously, he did not have the qualifications to understand this stage. Now that his cultivation base had reached the 7th level Saint King stage, he had some ideas. "What's the difference between this stage and the Saint King stage?" Chu Hen asked. If it was someone else, the aloof Green Hill Fox, Jun Jiang, would not have said so much to the other party. However, when they were in the immortal and devil tomb, Jun Jiang had already expressed the difference between him and Chu Hen. He paused for a moment before he said, "Although there's only a difference of one word between these two stages, there's a huge difference." Chu Hen's face was filled with expectation as he listened attentively. Compared to the Saint King stage, the Great Saint King stage is at the top of the pyramid. Compared to the former, the Great Saint King stage is the stage where one's saint's soul and true body are immortal. Most importantly, it's also the biggest difference. Jun Jiang paused for a moment. Chu Hen was stunned. That's the territory that an eminent Saint King can control. Territory energy? When Chu Hen heard these unfamiliar words, he was curious and surprised. "What's a territory?" As soon as he finished speaking, a green light flashed across Jun Jiang's eyes. Buzz! In the next instant, the space where both of them were immediately plunged into a restless rhythm. Frost and dust filled the sky as a circle of light green light spread out in all directions like a halo. In just a blink of an eye, it had enveloped the entire city tower. This is a territory. In an instant, Chu Hen felt as though he was trapped in a quagmire. His entire body felt as though it was covered by a heavy weight. He looked at Jun Jiang in front of him in shock. Jun Jiang did not use any martial skills. He did not even circulate much demonic energy in his body. It was as though he could not move at all with just his aura alone. However, this pressure was completely different from his aura. It felt as though he was an ordinary commoner who had barged into the main hall of the palace. Both his body and mind were under great pressure. "Wherever the territory goes, you're the emperor of this territory," Jun Jiang explained as he retracted the territory energy that he had released. As the light green halo converged and dissipated, Chu Hen felt relieved. "In your territory, even the slightest movement in the wind cannot escape your perception, and the power of the enemies within your territory will also be suppressed and reduced." Hearing what the other party said, Chu Hen suddenly felt that he knew too little. At the same time, he sincerely longed for the territory energy. "How can I control the territory energy?" "You'll have to rely on your own comprehension. The territory energy is different from those ordinary visible elemental powers. From the beginning to the end, it requires one's own inspiration and comprehension. How to recognize a territory, recreate a territory, and finally derive a territory is not something that can be explained clearly in a few words." Jun Jianga raised his eyes slightly and said solemnly, I've seen countless talented geniuses who have been stuck at the peak of the Saint King realm for hundreds of years, or even thousands of years, and yet they were unable to comprehend the territory energy. I've also seen some people create their own territory under great sorrow and joy in a normal state of mind without any desire or desire. There's both luck and coincidences involved. So that's how it is. Chu Hen's nervous mood eased a little. I was too impatient. Jun Jianga smiled slightly. With your talent, I believe that you won't have to wait that long. Chu Hen also smiled. Is the Great Saint King realm divided like the Saint King realm? Of course not. Jun Jianga denied. There are only 3 levels in the Great Saint King realm, namely Common Level, Earth Level, and Heaven Level. The strength of the territory energy and the size of its derivation range are divided. Of course, although there are only 3 levels, the breakthrough of each level in the Great Saint King realm is far beyond the Saint King realm. Chapter 1469. There are only 3 major levels in the Great Saint King realm, namely Common Level, Earth Level, and Heaven Level. They are divided by the strength and range of the domain power. Although there are only 3 levels, the difficulty of breaking through each level in the Great Saint King realm is far greater than that of the Saint King realm. After listening to Jun Jianga's explanation, Chu Hen's horizons seemed to have been broadened once again. Especially when he released the domain power just now, Chu Hen sincerely felt a huge pressure and a sense of powerlessness. Although it was only a difference of 1 word. But in front of the Great Saint King realm, the gap between the Saint King realm and the Saint King realm was definitely bigger than he imagined. Unknowingly, the sky had already turned bright. Rays of warm morning light passed through the thick clouds and sprinkled on the walls of Tao City. The hard-working citizens began to welcome a brand new day. Thank you, Senior, for telling me this. Chu Hen cupped his fists and said gratefully. Jun Jianga smiled slightly. You can ask others about these things yourself. There's no need to thank me. And Mu Feng, I've heard from him that if it weren't for you, he wouldn't have come back alive. That's his own good fortune. In fact, even I didn't expect that a human body like him could withstand the power of the demonic bloodline. It seems that the heavens have not forsaken him. After saying that, Jun Jianga looked at the eastern sky, dyed red by the morning glow. He said, It's getting late. I have to continue to search for my clansmen. Farewell for today. Aren't you going to see Mu Feng and the others? Chu Hen asked. There's nothing to see, and there's nothing to talk about. Goodbye. As soon as he finished speaking, the air trembled, and a wisp of illusory green fox shadow swept through the air. The next moment, Jun Jianga immediately disappeared from the city tower. Chu Hen couldn't help but laugh. Looking at the figure of the other party disappearing into the distance, his eyes showed some emotions. Although they had only met twice, Chu Hen still hoped that the other party could find the 9-tailed fox lord as soon as possible and end this never-ending wandering. Later, Chu Hen returned to the city lord's mansion. Brother Chu Hen is back. As soon as he stepped into the mansion, Yi Yao's voice came from the hall. Everyone, including Shilan, had already gotten up. Everyone was puzzled when they saw Chu Hen returning from outside. Why did you come back from outside? Where did you go? Mu Feng asked. Chu Hen smiled. Jun Jianga happened to pass by here and chatted with him for a while. Jun Jianga, that super handsome fox? Where is he? Xiao Xiaowan and Yi Yao's eyes lit up as if they were infatuated. 2 shallow women. Mu Feng's small eyes were full of contempt. He has already left. Chu Hen replied. Just like that? I should have invited someone in. Xiao Xiaowan and Yi Yao sighed with slight disappointment. Chu Hen was a little speechless. Then he looked at Shilan and said, Tutor, I forgot to ask you yesterday, Shilan looked puzzled. Do you want to go back with me? As soon as he said this, the others also cast inquiring gazes at Shilan. Isn't that obvious? Mu Feng waved his hand. We've finally found someone. What's the point of staying here? I was thinking of going back to the East region together after a while. Yes. I want to go back to the East region too. Xiao Xiaowan quickly echoed. At the mention of the East region, Everyone's eyes could not help but overflow with emotion. Unknowingly, everyone had already left the victorious East region for 3 to 4 years. It was inevitable that they would miss that familiar land. Mu Feng and Yi Yao's homes were there. Long Xuanchuang had not returned for a long time, and no one knew if her brother, Long Qingyang, had returned to the Sacred Star dynasty. Chu Hen looked at Xilan and said solemnly, "Tutor, what about you?" Xilan pursed her red lips. She did not know how to answer. "Tutor Xilan, don't think about it. Chu Hen has made a name for himself now. He's ranked first on the wind cloud list. He is your student. In the future, wherever you want to go, if you have any requests, you can look for him. If this guy doesn't agree, then you can look for me, Mu Feng. I'm also your student. I can do anything for you." Mu Feng patted his chest as he spoke. "Yes. Tutor Xilan, you haven't returned to the Thousand Crane sect in a long time, right? Why don't we go to the 100 Nations province together?" Yao also suggested. Xilan seemed to have put down something in her heart, and a trace of determination flashed across her eyes. Then she nodded. "Okay." Whoosh! Everyone was instantly excited. Then Xilan added, "But I might be a few days late. There are some things I need to tell Aang." After all, she had stayed here for 2 years. When he said that he wanted to leave, he was still a little reluctant. Before she left, Xilan had to settle down properly. "It doesn't matter. We're planning to stay here for a few days anyway. The scenery in Qingshu Plain is pretty good. Let's hurry outside. Maybe we'll run into that handsome fox." "Right, let's go. Noni, follow me." With that, Xiao Xiaoan and Yi Yao held hands and ran out with the yin-yang beast. Chu Hen heaved a sigh of relief as well. As he looked at Xilan's face, he felt genuinely happy. "Tutor, I'll take good care of you in the future, just like how you took care of me in Tensei Prefecture." Xilan didn't say anything when she noticed the seriousness in Chu Hen's eyes. She just smiled. "All right, I'm going up the mountain. Look for Aang if you need anything." "All right, I'll wait for you." "Okay." Chu Hen felt a sense of relief as he watched Xilan leave. A few days later, he brought Xilan back to the martial sect before returning to Victory East Province. Mount Kunliu, the Thousand Crane sect, and the Jiangli were all places he missed. "I wonder if Big Brother has returned?" Chu Hen muttered. It was a beautiful day, with verdant hills and clear waters. On the peak of a towering mountain range in the south of Daocheng, Chu Hen was sitting on the edge of a cliff. He was at the peak of the mountain, looking down at all the other mountains. Chu Hen was holding a scroll in his hand. On the first page of the scroll, there were 3 eye-catching words, Emerald Sutra. This was the scroll that the old Yin monkey had left for Chu Hen in the Fortune Emperor Palace. Of course, it was the only thing that the old Yin monkey had left behind. All the other treasures in the Fortune Emperor Palace had been plundered by him. However, according to the old Yin monkey, all the treasures in the Fortune Emperor Palace added up couldn't compare to the power of inheritance that Chu Hen had obtained. Long before that, old Yin monkey had studied the remnant of the Chui Hua Sutra and even used the method obtained from the sutra to modify the contents of the Wu Zong's Northern Star technique, thus creating a new Northern Star technique. Regarding this, Chu Hen had experienced it himself. This Emerald Sutra is indeed profound. No wonder it could strengthen the North Star mantra by so much with just a few changes. For the next few days, Chu Hen had been studying this scroll. Due to the fact that he had obtained Great Emperor Zhao Hua's inheritance, he was able to study and read the Essence Sutra thoroughly. After thinking deeply about it, Chu Hen felt that the North Star mantra could be improved. At this time, Chu Hen raised his eyebrows slightly. He looked up and said in a clear voice, "You're here, Buzz." The air trembled slightly. In the next moment, a tall and slender figure wearing a long red dress appeared behind him. She had exquisite and beautiful facial features and a pair of ruby-red eyes. This person was none other than the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow, Emo Qingli. "Where have you been these past few days?" Chu Hen turned around and looked at him. "I wanted to return to my tribe," Emo Qingli replied. "And then? Why did you come back?" "If it's to say goodbye, we can talk about it another time." She did not speak. There was an indescribable loneliness in her bright and beautiful eyes. Chu Hen hesitated. "Is it because you can't go back?" Come to think of it, the sacred winged heavenly flame sparrow was sealed in the eastern region. Because it had forcefully broken through the seal, its power was greatly reduced. It needed to recover to its peak condition, so it sought out Chu Hen. Now, although he had recovered his original cultivation, but he was still only at the level of being sealed. If that's the case, then go back later, Chu Hen said gently. His eyes revealed a hint of gentleness. Stay with me for now. When you have nothing to worry about, then go back. If it's possible, I will accompany you then. Mo Qingli was stunned. Ripples appeared in her enchanting eyes. She looked at Chu Hen in a daze. You will accompany me back. Of course, as long as you are willing. Chu Hen smiled. Mo Qingli's slightly furrowed brows slowly relaxed. Then it settled. If you dare to go back on your words, I will not forgive you. I won't go back on my words, Chu Hen replied firmly. Then, Chu Hen closed the scroll in his hand and stretched his body. Let's go. Today is the last day. Master said he will go with me to the martial organization. As he spoke, he put away the Chui Hua scripture. Chu Hen stood up, allowing the mountain stream's cool and refreshing wind to blow on his face. Looking at the endless sea of trees, his mood was unspeakably carefree. However, just as Chu Hen was about to bring Mo Qingli back to Daocheng, suddenly, the wind blew and the clouds gathered. The airflow became turbulent, and an extremely unsettling aura surged without any warning. Buzz, the sky changed color, and the space shook violently. There's an enemy. Chu Hen's heart skipped a beat. Mo Qingli's pretty face also changed. Before he finished speaking, an aqua-blue screen of light swept over, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. Like a water screen, it enveloped Chu Hen and Mo Qingli, trapping them within it. In the next moment, a huge pressure surged from all directions.